stream is powered by Melita, using Melita Gigapower Internet. World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
For only €5 a month, experience every high-definition moment on your TV, tablet, phone or PC. Great teams, great moments, and so much more. TSN from Melita is your ticket to stay in the game. Visit melita.com/sports.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
This is so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
Wish your Wi-Fi network would just work in any room? Our new Stellar Wi-Fi is AI assisted to give you the smoothest, fastest possible Wi-Fi throughout your home. Stellar Wi-Fi, assisted by AI, exclusive to Melita. Find out more in-store or online.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
A very warm welcome to us here on World Pro Racing for the final race of 2020. It's the end of year race. We're going to be hosting a 90-minute spectacular at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza here on World Pro Racing. Alex Goldschmidt and Niklas Hilbrand actually closing out the season for you here on what's been a fantastic year for sim racing, Nicholas.
Yeah, most definitely. Driving-wise and, of course, also commentary-wise. I've had my first, I'd say, big start here with World Pro Racing, just commentary-wise, and it's been one hell of a year, definitely.
It's definitely been a pleasure working alongside you, my friend. And also, we can't forget about you people watching at home on TVM Sports in Malta, Esports TV, Motorsport.tv, and the various World Pro Racing social media feeds on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. We'd also like to thank all the relevant partners that have stood by us in this difficult situation with the COVID-19 pandemic that shows currently no sign of abating. A big thank you to Melita, who have helped to power this stream, Thrustmaster, AMD, HyperX, Gaming Malta, and visitmalta.com. But there is an extra broadcast, very special, that's going to be happening tomorrow night on 8:30 p.m. Central European time here on World Pro Racing, live on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. And what's more, there's going to be a very special way. A big thank you to our partners from HyperX for doing that. So you can join the team as usual, but obviously we'll be talking about 2020. So don't forget to join us for our pre-New Year's virtual party, so to speak, with many of the team, probably myself, including the likes of Justin Mifsud and Adrian Figalo as well, amongst others, joining you tomorrow evening. So don't forget about that one. We've also got some new interesting dynamic news for 2021. Very shortly, Season 2 of the World Pro Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione Sprint Series will be back very, very soon. More information will be posted on the World Pro Racing website in due course in the not too distant future. And also the very first GT3 casual race on Assetto Corsa Competizione at Zolder on the 12th of January is a sellout. Nicholas, that's a great start for 2021 already, isn't it?
Most definitely. You know, it shows that people are just very, very keen to get racing. And of course, in this fantastic environment here, you have pro drivers, you have amateur drivers, intermediates. People of all skill levels can just get in here and, just have a bit of fun racing. And of course, in the sprint series, they can start cabbling for, cash prizes and stuff as well. And
Yes.
It's just something for everyone here.
Yes, a total prize fund like Season 1 of €500 in total. But tonight's festivities to close out 2020, the fantastic circuit that has been in operation for nearly a century, Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, based in is a historic racetrack. It's been in circulation for nearly a century, and it is one of the most iconic circuits. It's flat out for most of the way. It's just over 3.6 miles. And what we've got, Nicolas, is a 90-minute race. Obviously, we had the 90 minutes of Hungaroring a bit earlier on this year. 2 mandatory pit stops, refueling is required, and it's a 5-time timescale on the server. So that's going to really, really provide us with some great racing this evening.
I think it's going to be very interesting here what strategies the guys will use to get through this. Because, of course, if you just do splash and dash in the pit stops, you can save some time there, but The big issue is with the 5 times time scale, you may want to get some new tires to adjust your tire pressures because, as we know, tire pressures, tire temperatures, especially on that new overhauled tire model, it's very important, and that's some way that you can either gain or lose quite a lot of time.
Yeah, so we've got a 15-minute free practice session, a 15-minute qualifying session. Now let's head to the track. And we have a returnee. Well, one of our many winners in the GT3 casual races. Welcome back to Germany's Jan-Niklas Erbrich, who was one of the many drivers that has secured race victories, not just in GT3, but in GT4 this season. He's running in that trusty Lexus RCF GT3. We've got, I think, in the realm of 30-plus drivers. When I looked at the drivers list before we went live today, we are close to a capacity grid of nearly 40 GT3 cars, Nicholas, and that's close to 20,000 horsepower this evening.
Well, definitely something to look forward to then. And we're also seeing some very interesting car choices down the field. After Marek Fons has been very, very fast in this casual race that we had at Monza before in the BMW. A lot of people seem to have picked up on that, and while Jan-Niklas Erbrich stays with his trusty Lexus, you know, Sheldon Scott Muscat, who was in the Mercedes, I believe, the last time.
Yes, he was.
He switched to the BMW as well.
Yeah, Mihai Suțianu, that recently took a victory in the casual race side of things, also switching to the BMW. Luke Whitehead, originally a Lexus convert, but now has switched to the powers that be of a Falterbach in the Mercedes AMG GT3. And obviously with the 2020 tyre model and also the BOP coming into effect, that's going to really, really change the dynamics of this race here, Nicholas.
Yeah, most definitely. The BOP has been adjusted quite a bit. Of course, the new tyre model, the biggest difference is that the sidewalls are a lot stiffer, so the car handling is a lot more direct. The tyres just don't give in as much anymore. So in the old time model, you sort of had to throw the car more into the corner to get it actually turned in. This is not the case anymore. The cars are very direct, and you have to, well, for some cars, you have to really just think about how did it affect them. And one car that we see once again here, that we've also seen in the last casual race here, now piloted by Gergely Kunsabo, the Jaguar, with the number 11 in 14th place right now, that is one car that I can absolutely confirm has profited a huge lot from the new tyre model.
Plus also, we know that that car is incredibly quick in a straight line, and Monza is where you can really stretch the legs on this particular cat amongst the GT3 pigeons here at Monza. So it will be rather interesting to see how the likes of Gergely Kunsabo, who's also put look, he's got a festively livery Jaguar, a bit of red and green, a bit of all he needs now is a bit of a white stripe and some tinsel. He'll be right away for a bit of a late Christmas celebration. You can see on the bottom right hand corner that he's got Merry Christmas underneath his name, so that's his team name for this evening here at Monza. It's great to see that people still full of the festive spirit, even though Christmas has already sort of fallen by the wayside.
Little red nose and some horns as well, and then we have the perfect little Christmas livery on that car here.
Yeah, I think we'd have a GT3 reindeer, wouldn't we? And it would just so happen to be a Jaguar. But we digress there. 11 minutes and 20 seconds in the session to go. And you've got a few drivers running wide at the moment as, Sheldon Scott Muscat has absolutely demolished some of the barriers going through the Rettifilio chicane. And that's not where you want to end up going through turn one at the beginning of a 90-minute encounter.
Yeah, it's not the most optimal way. Luckily, we don't have a reset function like Gran Turismo Sport here, so you can just carry on. But of course, you have to be careful when rejoining. If you gain too much time, it's instantly going to penalize you with a drive-through or stop-and-go penalty. And that, of course, is rather very tough to catch back up in this race distance.
But when the drivers are pushing at around about 70% plus full throttle around here at Monza, one of the biggest things that they've got to watch here, Nicholas, is the fuel consumption, but also how hard the tyres will be tested, because, you know, they're going under the bridge heading into Ascari. It's on the brakes from 6th down to 3rd. It's then running over the sausage curbs. If that steps, or, you know, if they hit one of the sausage curbs wrong, it could spit out the back end, turn around the other way. Anything can happen, and if they can get the mistakes out of the way in free practice, I think that'll be pretty good for all of them.
Yeah, it's definitely something that they have to look out for. Ascari is, I think, the hardest part of the entire lap to get right, simply because it's, of course, you know, you have these couple chicanes, the first chicane and, of course, the chicane after Curva Grande, but this one is just at such a high speed, and you have to attack the curves in just the right angle, and the car setup just has to be absolutely on point. As you said, the rear end can just swing around, or if you're very, very unlucky, what I've seen quite a lot, and actually it happened to myself as well, was that the front end of the car just takes off and then, you know, it just violently comes back down, but still keeps jumping up and down a little bit, and that is just a way that you just use a lot of time and probably end up in the wall there as well.
Yeah, look like I think that might have been. I'm not too sure whether it might have been a Lamborghini because I haven't really seen many Porsches in this grid, but I think it might have been a Lamborghini that was probably a black liveried one, or it might have been the number 2 car that I've just spotted in the pit lane. That is Arias, Unai Arias, that's who's with the Lightning Monkeys team, as Wojciech Zarzecki goes out in the number 32. Good to see the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 being in some ways represented, not by many drivers, I might add. But the biggest omission I'm going to actually mention here, Nicolas, is that one of the fastest cars out here on Assetto Corsa Competizione is the 2015 variation of the Nissan GTR GT3.
Yeah, it's a little bit odd, that one. For corners, it's not so much useful, because obviously it's still the more unoptimized version. I mean, there's a reason that Nissan completely remade that car in 2018, and of course I could just completely roll down with all the improvements they made on that car, because it is a complete list of it. But besides the new tire model and BOP, Assetto Corsa Competizione also had a bit of recalculation of aero balances and, you know, how much downforce is produced in what way, and how draft is calculated, and drag also as well. And with some cars, for example, the Ferrari 488 non-Evo, that has actually affected the straight line speed by quite a bit. And I think the Nissan was one of the cars that actually benefited quite a bit from that, and, you know, just was able to get a little bit more speed out of that, just on straight lines.
Yeah, as we now see that Gergely Kunsaba gets out of the way of the 333 of Jan Heiler, and well, there is a Nissan just up ahead. Trying to keep an eye on who that actually is, but Jan Heiler got very, very close to the back end of that Nissan, going through into Ascari chicane. That could have been new underwear, please, if Jan Heiler had got that completely and utterly wrong. But Maranello's finest will be one of the ones to watch out here, even though Heiler is currently in 9th. In 18th place, we've got another driver by the name of Ziga in the number 5, down in 18th. And then we've also got Raffaele Morga down in 21st position. You've then got Paolo Cisco, the usual here. And just look at how quickly it is becoming a fight at the front. The top 5 here, rounded out by Sheldon Muscat, covered by just over 5.5 tenths, but it's Unai Arias ahead of Mihai Sotianu, Jan Niklas Ebrich, and then we've got a new person, Calvin Heutzel from Good Time Racing, ahead of Sheldon Muscat from GT Omega. So it's looking rather quick at the top, but the overriding factor here is that Munich's finest is occupying 3 of the top 5 positions.
Yeah, the BMW is the biggest strength, I think, is its straight line speed and just how it can put that power down. From comments from the real life drivers, I think I've heard that overall in corners, in longer corners and stuff, it's quite good because it's stable, but it doesn't generate too much downforce. So overall, it's quite lucky that we don't have too many corners here that need too much downforce. Quite lucky for the BMW drivers indeed. Now we have Yannick Rohrhoff here in the, I think, non-Evo Mercedes, actually. Quite interesting as well. No, actually, that is the Evo Mercedes. Now with 6th place. And that's also quite nice. I think he's also switching for the first time now from his Porsche. So
Yes.
yeah, we see a lot of people actually just switching around in cars. But yeah, the BMW is just one of these cars. It can do one thing only good, but that one thing, which in this case is straight line speed, it does it so damn good that no other cars can just compare.
Oscar Saaristo from Finland. In the that's a lengthy team name, isn't it? Aggressive Preset Racing Team. Currently in the number 10 Aston Martin. And that is the highest. That's one of the drivers looking to be move up the order. Stephen Johnson still sticking with the tried and true Lexus in the 85 from RDS Motorsport. He's currently 22nd. Simon Painter currently a couple of positions behind in the sister Lexus in the 15. You've got a few drivers out of position, the likes of Estonia's Kasisalu, who we've regularly seen here, as there's a bit of an off-track excursion for one of the BMWs, and that was coming out of Ascari. That was the Czech driver Neuwirth in the sixth. No, that wasn't. Neuwirth's just coming through into Parabolica, but it was one of the BMWs, so that I'm wondering whether that might have been Paolo Sisco that did go off there in the 97. Paolo Sisco, when he's on his own game, can have a good opportunity, but then there have been times when he's absolutely he's thrown a bit of a clanger and gone off track, and it's absolutely ruined it. But with 3.5 minutes still left in practice, we have not got any Porsches. We've only got one Audi as well, and that's the number 17 of Argo Zalewski, who's currently rounding out the top 34. And yeah, we've looks like we're going to have 37 cars here at Monza this evening, Niklas. That is going to be an absolute roar fest heading into the Varianti dell'Ertafiglio for the first time this evening.
Yeah, I think this will be quite a spectacle to watch because, let's be honest, we try to fit as many cars on this track as possible in this situation, and there's not really space for all of them in the first chicane. It goes from, quite wide front straight into an incredibly tight first chicane, which would probably normally, especially with these sausage curbs, which are basically just, guardrails at this point because you don't want to touch them. It's more suited, I think, that chicane to circuits the likes of Monaco, isn't it?
I think you're right there. I think you're completely right there on that one, Nicholas. As some of the drivers really trying to get some laps in. We've got just over 2 minutes and 10 seconds. There's Adam Plivac, another regular here on Pro Racing. We've seen him towards the top 10 or the top 15. He's currently running P15 behind another regular, Gifted Racing Team's very own Ben Norton. He's running the number 16 BMW. He rounds out the top 14 at the moment. You've got some other usual suspects up at the top as well. Whitehead currently in third place. So Sutianu in the number 22. And it was actually Ben Norton that had the off-track excursion. But it is the Mercedes of Good Time Racing's Calvin Heutzel that leads the way in the number 79 Mercedes, ahead of Unai Arias, who is from Lightning Monkeys. Then it's Luke Whitehead, a regular, and he's also become a race winner with us here at World Pro Racing towards the tail end of the year. Mihai Sutianu, Jan-Niklas Ebrich, Sheldon Scott Muscat, that rounds out. And there's Juri Stigfort from the Netherlands, another regular, and another driver. And you can just see all the Nissans. Got quite a few drivers there. Martin Ritson is leading that quintet of Nissans at the moment in 31st. Then it's Reiner Hesse. And then we've got Reit Vakrum in the number, I think that's the number 44, same number as Lewis Hamilton. He's currently 33rd. Juri Stigfort actually is way down at the bottom because we've had Matthias Albrecht, also from Estonia, has moved up to 34th position as we've got only 30 seconds left on the clock. But it's about who's going to get it on pole for the session. And it's looking to be rather interesting, Nicholas.
I think a lot of people are also still tackling this free practice session with different strategies. A lot of them are, of course, running for qualifying practice as well, as you probably should by now. since it's basically over now and we're about to go to qualifying. But I think a lot of people, since we have this very interesting race format today, 90 minutes with 2 mandatory pit stops, people were just trying out, how can I go about this strategy the best way possible? Because the no-brain strategy, the just box standard one that you would just attempt to do, which is a proven strategy that actually works very well, is just, wait the first 30 minutes, just fuel it up for 30 minutes, go out, and it's completely settled. You wait for the next 30 minutes to pass by, go in for the last stop, and you're settled. And technically on the new tire models, because they are better now on tire wear as well, they last longer without losing as much pace. You can do, I think, around 2 hours on one tire set, but I think people will really definitely try if it's actually worth it, because I can definitely see some people trying to go for, one singular tire swap and then one short little, how do you call it, splash and dash, just to top off the amount of fuel needed for the rest of the race.
I think one of the, I did see a couple of Bentleys, but the thing is that with this race format, you've got to refuel on both stops. So the thing is, like with a car like the Bentley, you're going to have to make that ultimate sacrifice. Are you going to go light in the first? Are you going to go light for the first stint, go light for the second stint, and then take that second stint early in the Bentley, and then go for it? Because we all know, everyone knows, the whole world knows about how long the Bentley can run on fuel. It's just dependent on whether the tyres and the brake balance can actually survive.
I think the Bentley and the Aston Martin actually both have an incredible advantage here, or just generally the turbo cars, because they just use such a little amount of fuel that they can just run as long as they want, go for maybe a tire swap even if they don't feel quite as comfortable on that anymore, and then for that last pit stop, because if they just fully refuel, for example, they are at around the same length of a stop that they would need for, let's say, a tire swap. It's literally just a 2-3 seconds difference. And I think when you at that point are so aggressive on the tires that you would lose these 2-3 seconds maybe over the next 10 laps anyway, it's definitely something that is worth considering. So we'll see. I think it's going to be quite interesting to see how people will actually play this out, especially with all the different generations in cars. Because as we saw before, there are people in the new Mercedes, but also we saw our newcomer here, who was just putting it on the top spot, I think Hölzl was, in the old Mercedes. And also Reiler in the old Ferrari, and a few people further down the field in the new Ferrari. So we'll see.
Okay. Qualifying now underway. We're into the first couple of minutes or so. Air temperature 24 degrees Celsius, track temperature 32 degrees Celsius. No real breeze to speak of. Looks like pretty nice sunshine here in Monza. As there's Tanel Casissalu in the 88 Lamborghini Huracan GT3. So a lot of drivers currently on their outlaps, getting the brakes and the tyres up to temperature. Some now venturing out onto the 3.6 mile circuit, 5.793 kilometres. All-time lap record around here in the formidable Ferrari F2004. No, it was not Michael Schumacher. It was Rubens Barrichello from Brazil back in 2004, a 1 minute 21.046. But we do know that sometimes GT3 machinery will be around about 20 to 25 seconds off that at the very, very most as we go on board. This is through the Della Roggia variante with Casissalu, so we'll stay on board with the Lamborghini. Now into the two Lesmos. Lesmo 1. And losing the back end was Casissalu there, coming out of the exit and through into the second one. And yeah, that was definitely a bit of grass cutting there by the left-hand side of that Lamborghini. So that lap, he's... we've just had an incident just behind, going through the second Lesmo. I think that could have been Stickfort being turned around, coming out of the exit. So I think someone's going to have a post-session grid penalty there.
Yeah, that might be it. But yeah, like as you said, a bit of grass cutting there. I think a lot of people are still a bit not used to that the new time model, because one big thing that also came with it was that for the first running lap, of course, you have your pressures up and you're already in the operating window, but the actual good performance, it will come in the second flying lap. So I think people are very desperate to get that first lap out of the way. And in this case, Casasado, I think he just overcooked it a little bit and into both Lesmos, which are just two corners which are very easy to overcook it into. And obviously, it's not going to be that good to have that tire on temperature when it's completely dirty.
Well, Luke Whitehead sets the initial benchmark of a 1:47.5. Jana Taitus, another Estonian from Team Cruising Missiles, currently running out the top 30, but obviously will be on a hot lap at the minute. So let's see if the number 66 Mercedes jumps up the orders, goes P7 on a 1:48.849. So at the moment it is Mercedes leading, but from a trio of BMWs. Arias in the number 2 in second, Sutianu in the number 22 in third. Muscat making it 3 BMWs in the top 4 as we go now on board with Tom Revox in the Red Face Racing. That is the Lexus RCF GT3. He also runs a little wide, but not too wide to possibly invalidate the lap time there through the Cova del Saraglio under the bridge, heading towards the Variante Ascari. Just under 10 minutes of the session remaining, and Revox is currently dropping down the order. But at the minute, now coming through. Let's just see if it's a nice exit out of Ascari. Doesn't run a bit too wide, like I've seen quite a few drivers already. So we'll stay on board with the Lexus at the moment. And now we'll head into the Parabolica. And that looks to be Casisalu that Revox has actually got in front through Parabolica. So, will the number 26 from Red Face Racing jump up from 17th a little bit further up the order? We're about to find out. And goes P11, 1 minute 49.191. So the French driver making some inroads there. Gergely Consabo in the Merry Christmas Jaguar XKRS GT3 that was originally conceived by Emil Fry Racing. Wasn't a works-backed outfit, courtesy of Jaguar. So the Hungarian now up into P5. So the Jaguar starting to stretch its legs here a little bit at Monza. There's Umberto Noto in one of the Bentleys that I've seen up the order in the 504. Currently running P12. Now has exited the Ascari chicane, heading down to Parabolica. As we're just under a minute away from half-time in this 15-minute session. Sutiano might be putting some new boots on that BMW as Umberto Noto. It's one of the biggest cars in terms of weight. The Bentley does have a pretty good engine beneath its bonnet. However, Umberto Noto does not improve on position, but does a personal best of 1 minute 48.612. And there is Jan-Niklas Ebrich, who is currently in 8th position, a best effort from the German, 1 minute 52.833. That is a considerable amount off the pace that Luke Whitehead has currently set, as we've got a yellow flag out at the moment. So let's have a look, see if we can keep an eye on the split time between the drivers as we've gone halfway through the session. So Luke Whitehead, a 1:47.592, nearly 2.5 tenths ahead of LL Racing's Jan-Niklas Ebrich. So the German comes good on that lap in the 299 Lexus and goes 3 1/1000ths of a second quicker than Unai Arias. And then it is Calvin Herzl, Mihai Sutianu, Max Waffel in 6th ahead of Sheldon Muscat, Yannick Ruoff, Gergely Kunsabo, and Nicholas. The top 9 covered by less than half a second. Wow, that's close.
Definitely a close gap there. I'm also seeing our top Lamborghini here. I've actually just learned that through Twitch recommended in the last couple of days. Mr. Foch here, I think, as far as I know, he's only recently begun streaming in Assetto Corsa Competizione. Before that, he used to be a World of Tanks streamer or something along the lines. And now, found his way into racing and apparently likes it so much that he's just doing this quite a lot now.
Well, that's really good to hear that people who get bitten by the sim racing bug decide to carry on their Twitch streaming. We know that a few of our friends within the sim racing community, quite a few high profile ones I might add, including someone that you race with at or you work with at Butlerpal Motorsport, René Butler. Of course, we have to say hello to him. So there's a lot of people that do a lot of streaming on Twitch, and it's good to see that people like Samir are getting on board with the Twitch bandwagon on racing. When you've got so many high-profile people out there like Jardier, Jimmy Broadbent, to name but a couple of those many people that do it. And that's another part of the sim racing community that's been ultra helpful this year as well, Nicholas.
Yeah, definitely. I think this is just the blessing in disguise that came from the quarantine, of course. Because while we have to worry, of course, about social distancing and all that stuff, at the same time, sim racing isn't affected by that. So wherever you want to, you can basically just sit down and have a couple of races with your friends, and that is just really the best quality that I've had so far with sim racing for the past almost 6 years now. And I've actually had a race recently at Racing Club International, where I raced with a friend of mine, Cyanide Plays Games. A couple of guys might know him on Twitch as well, streaming for quite some years now, and also joined by an American Formula racer, Nicky Hayes. And it was just this beautiful dynamic of the race starting with me in Germany, giving it over to Cyanide, to Amir in England, and then he gave it over to Nicky in America, in wonderful California. And this is just the thing. This is something that you can't replicate with real motorsports. So sim racing is just really something that brings people together.
It does indeed, and it's brought me into a new line of work that I thought probably a couple of years away. And as they say, there's always a silver lining behind every cloud as we go on with Unai Arias in the number 2 BMW. He goes P2, 1 minute 47.601. So that gap to Luke Whitehead, I think that is probably around about half a tenth. Max Farfel in the Incoherent Racing Lines number 1 Mercedes AMG GT3. Running in P3 at the moment. Jan-Niklas Ebrich in 4th ahead of Calvin Heutzel in the number 79 Mercedes. Mihai Sutianu and Sheldon Scott Muscat just behind. Oscar Saristo in the number 10 Aston Martin. Towards the bottom part of the top 20 in the turbocharged 4-litre V8 Aston Martin Vantage GT3. And a lot of people that will know from the sim racing world, but there are probably some people that might be watching us for the very first time, or you might have got a new sim rig for Christmas with your relevant bits and pieces, your gaming PC, your steering wheel, your force feedback setup and everything. If you want to join us here at World Pro Racing, head to worldproracing.com. You can follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We're even on Twitch, YouTube, and also on this stream as well on Facebook if you're watching. So if you're watching the YouTube channel, why not hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and give this video a like whilst you're at it. So Saristo goes up into 17th position. Here's Max Walfel trying to really wring that Mercedes by the scruff of the neck there. And across the line goes P1 on a 1 minute 47.583. With just over 2.25 minutes to go, Nicolas. Luke Whitehead better be out of that pit lane.
I think that might be a very, very close one here. And actually, that might be just a couple of thousandths of a second. Oh, yes, 9 thousandths of a second separating them. So, the new Mercedes with Max Verstappen.
But sorry to cut across you there, Nicolas. Look at Unai Arias. A further 9 thousandths of a second adrift. It's 18 thousandths between the top 3. This has been the closest qualifying session we've had all year here at World Pro Racing. And what a time for it to happen on the 90 minutes end of year race here live on the 29th of December 2020. Wow. You couldn't have called that one better, eh?
Oh, that is just... I'm at a loss for words. This is just wow.
I think as what we would say in Germany is verrückt, crazy.
Yeah,
I think it's probably
definitely.
the best terminology I could think about right.
Quite honestly, I have had such a thing happen to me once in my entire life. That was, I think, by now 8 years ago, about around that time, when I was still doing kart slalom racing. So you have a little course, and you just have to get through that as quickly as possible without knocking over a cone, because that gives you 2 seconds penalty, and God knows you can't catch that back up. But you have this course, you have to go through it, and you have 2 runs through that. And with all of that completely done, I finished in second in the end, 100th of a second, so just barely more than 9,000th of a second more, in front of third place, and third place was 100th of a second in front of fourth place.
Oh, crikey. So Sicianu's now taken P1. So that's all changed again. So it's down to the likes of Whitehead, Jan-Niklas Ebrich. And look at Max Waffel. He's currently in P2. So Sicianu's found some pace in that BMW. The time is fast ticking away. I think before he gets, he'll come out of the second Lesmo, will Jan-Niklas Ebrich. And you can see, there was a bit of a loose moment with the back end of that Lexus. Checkered flag now out for the session. So will Jan-Niklas Ebrich have an opportunity here to move up out of 5th position? We're literally probably about 30 or so seconds away from finding out, because some drivers are still on their hot laps. Sicianu and Waffel have both decided discretion's the better part of valor. They have pitted. Whitehead still out. Arias still out. Ebrich, who we now see heading towards the Parabolica. Herzl still out. Yannick Ruoff also still out. Jan Heiler. Then you've got Pari down in 14th. Plivac still out on the circuit as one of the Mercedes comes wide. And Ebrich bails out of that lap time. Whitehead not being able to do it. But Mihai Sicianu, by 27 thousandths of a second, secures pole position for the final World Pro Racing event here at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza, ahead of Max Waffel, who is 9 1,000ths quicker than... Well, that's 9 1,000ths between him and Luke Whitehead and Unai Arias. The top 4, who would have thought it? Covered by 5 1,000ths shy of half a tenth of a second after 15 minutes of qualifying. And then you look all the way down to 15th, it's covered by 9 tenths. That was one hell of a session.
Yeah, definitely. I think I speak for everyone, especially the viewers as well, when I say no breath wasted there, because we constantly had to keep holding us because they just kept pumping out new lap times. So
yeah,
if the race is going to be that way, I'm looking forward to it already.
I think in the words of the Italians, Mamma Mia speaks volumes.
Most definitely.
So we have a 1.5 hour race here on World Pro Racing. Once again, a big thank you to everyone watching on TVM Sport in Malta, Esports TV, Motorsport.tv, and also on the World Pro Racing Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube channels. So the strategy call is going to be quite crucial here for that person that wants to get onto our virtual podium after 90 minutes of racing. 2 mandatory pit stops, refueling is required. You said about the tyres, that's going to be quite important because these cars are going to be traveling at full throttle around 70% of the lap. And it's about those that really, really time it. But if you really, really go a bit aggressive on the tyres early in the first stint, you could really put yourself at a disadvantage.
I think especially with that, it's going to be very difficult because not only do you have to think about how you handle with the tyres, but also just in general, you have to think about how you just completely get out in traffic. Because Monza, of course, with long straights, you have it a little bit easier going past, but every single time you have to make a move into a hard braking zone with one line. All the corners are incredibly tight in comparison to the rest of the track. So no matter what you do, unless you actually get past them on the complete straight, just managing to follow them close enough through the corners, you always have to make a move in the braking zone, and that is going to lose you a lot of time, I think. So just planning your pit stops, having this little bit of luck as well, just coming out in a bit of clean air. I think that is going to be a very big part in the pit strategies today.
Well, don't forget, before we do go racing here on World Pro Racing for the final time in 2020, the end of year closing virtual party here on the official Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch channels for us here. It's our final sort of like our goodbye to 2020, and we'll welcome in 2021 with open arms. There is a HyperX giveaway, so you must be watching the show to find out if you're going to be one of those lucky winners tomorrow evening. The party starts at 8:30 p.m. Central European Time, so if you're in the United Kingdom, it is 7:30 p.m. But to see how close that qualifying session was, that's one bit of the business end of this race done. The next one is to get through the start.
Yeah, and as we know in Monza, turn 1, it's not very merciful when it comes to starts. It suddenly gets very tight, and the long straight, the wide straight, it's very inviting for people to try go 3 wide and maybe even 4 wide before the pit entry completely comes back to the track. But yeah, let's see what happens. I hope that we'll get through it cleanly. But of course, F1 has trouble with that with, at the time, smaller cars. I think in 2011 when Vitantonio Liuzzi had his little moment just coming over the inside grass and hitting.
Yeah, I think there's been quite a few people that have had a few. I think Kimi Räikkönen, Marcus Ericsson, quite famously with Alfa Romeo a couple of years ago. If anyone might remember that one, that was a bit of a. I think there was a bit of a. That was one of those ones where you wanted to look away but you couldn't because it like literally it was like the Kubica incident back in 2007 at Montreal. But we're just about a minute and a half away from the start. Well, about a minute away from getting this race underway. It's difficult to pick a winner here, Nicholas. That is the problem.
Yeah, definitely. We've got so many people that are really quite fast here. And we still haven't seen, I think, their full potential because some people also, of course, have hot lap setups, to get the absolute maximum pace out of the car for one lap. How will they do, though, over the race distance? How will they tackle it with the tire strategy? Because I'm not much of a scientist, but my calculations say that a hot lap setup over this race distance will not fare too well.
I completely concur, Herr Doctor. I think it's mainly about it. Two key here: getting through the start fine and consistency. If you're consistent and you're keeping it fast and you're not causing any problems with your strategy in terms of fuel regulation and tire management, especially with the tire temperatures, if you have a spin, it flat spots the tire, you've got to come in for a stop. You've literally compromised yourself there and then. And that could be a real sort of deciding factor of ending someone's race where they thought, oh, well, I could probably go for a podium, and they end up outside of the top 15. That's how difficult it can be here at Monza.
Yeah, that's just one of the things, especially in the start phases when all the cars are close together, as we see that. Look at that. That is just majestic to look at. But yeah, when we have all these cars so close together, if you make one misjudgment, you can easily take out 5, 6, 7, 8 cars. And of course, besides obviously ending your own race, you really don't want that kind of thing on your conscience, I'd say.
Well, 90 minutes of Monza for the final racing in 2020 about to get underway. Mihai Suțianu on pole position in the 2 BMW. Max Waffel alongside in the number 1 Mercedes with Whitehead, Arias, Ebrich, Herzl, Horhoff, Muscat, Kun, Sabo and Norton. That is your top 10 as we eagerly await the green flag to be waved. And it is waved and we are off and away, and a great start there. Look at Max Waffel. He's absolutely powering past Suțianu, who has already fallen into the clutches of Luke Whitehead as they head into the Rettifilo chicane for the first time. The Mercedes clearly having the legs on the BMW, but Suțianu trying to keep to the inside. It's 3 abreast for the lead. Going to the first chicane as Whitehead and Suțianu come together, and Whitehead gets turned around. And that's another BMW going off there in the process. Arias going off there. It is an absolute traffic jam there at the Rettifilo chicane. Oh, we were waiting with bated breath, and the inevitable has happened, and there's been a Bentley T-boned on the inside of the chicane. Oh my goodness me, absolute calamity on the very first corner of the race.
Yeah, that is just the difficulty of Monza. In the middle of that, I held my breath for quite a bit because there was a Lamborghini on the inside grass and then rejoined onto the track without actually having contact. So quite impressive driving from that as well. But yeah, quite close fighting at the front here. We can see these trains here. It's already forming this good old trend of train after train after train here at Monza. And of course, all of them have a lot of battling with slipstream.
Okay, first penalty has been issued. I'm thinking that's Tom Revox there. I think that could be for not being compliant with the start. Gets an automatic drive-through as Mihai Suțianu now has Germany's Jan-Niklas Ebrich battling away. So it is BMW ahead of Lexus. Max Waffel rounding out the top three. Yannick Ruoff has now. I was just noticing. I've just seen Yannick Ruoff, but where has Arias gone? Arias was up into the top 5. Oh, look! On the outside, and there's... Oh, no! There's one Bentley turned around. One of the Lexuses is gone. Alexander Doricott, that was just spinning there. Oh, not just turn one, it's the Ascari. It's not the Rettifilo, it's the Ascari chicane. And there's one Mercedes that has got a front bumper and a front bonnet. And that's the Evo one that's definitely looking rather second-hand as it's 3 wide coming out of the Parabolica. Oh, well, I didn't expect this much carnage and pandemonium as a few drivers now. Arias in the pits, Riboldi in the pits, amongst others. And I'm sure that there's going to be a few race investigations and decisions coming our way very, very shortly as Renaud Hesse against Martin Ritson gets the upper hand going through into the Rettifilo chicane. Well, would you believe it? They say that lightning does sometimes strike twice, and here at Monza, it struck not just at the Rettifilo, Nicholas, it also hit at the Ascari.
Yeah, definitely. Just before we saw that on the broadcast, I actually saw a little bit of that carnage happen on the onboard stream of one of our drivers here, who's now in 15th place. I think he's dropped a few positions, and his stream has actually... ceased to exist, so I don't know if we've already completely lost him, or maybe it's just a temporary thing, as we've seen in the last couple of days. Just
right, okay, breaking news. Mihai Suțianu, the current leader, will have to serve a drive-through sack with Luke Whitehead, so that will put Jan-Niklas Ebrich into the provisional lead of the race, as Max Waffel is coming under pressure from Yannick Ruoff and Luke Whitehead, so it's definitely getting a bit feisty at the front of the field. Yannick Ruoff showed his nose there to Max Waffel as if to let him know that he's actually there. And Luke Whitehead definitely got the fire stoked in the belly. Now there was a bit of a run wide there for Jan-Niklas Ebrich, I believe, as Suțianu still stays in the lead. Waffel up to second. Ruoff and Whitehead leading, they're completing the top 4 drivers at the moment. But Mihai Suțianu has another 2 laps to serve that drive-through. Otherwise, he gets further penalised by race control. But, you know, we're close to completing the first 5 minutes of this race, Nicholas. Even with the drive-through, Suțianu, with the calibre that we know of him, it's 3 wide coming across the start-finish line between the likes of Ritson, Hesse and Elbrecht. You know, that time can be well and truly made up with the calibre of Suțianu.
I'd say so, definitely, but I think he will need a lot of good fortune in his way as well, because of course, and that is a big crash again. Just people, I think, miscommunicating their lines coming out of that chicane there with the Nissan and that Lexus. I think that was...
Renaud Hesse, that was that literally straight lined the Rettifilo, so another driver that's decided to do that, so yeah, that's not going to look very favourable, and that's effectively a track cut, so... And early on in the race, it's not going to be easy. But Ebrich has fought back and has got ahead of Luke Whitehead. So that Lexus starting to come alive, and he's right in the slipstream of Yannick Ruoff. And then Max Waffel from Estonia just up ahead. So it is going to be a good old battle between Estonia and Germany and Great Britain at the front of the field, whilst Romania has to serve a... sounds like the World Cup there, doesn't it? Romania has to serve a drive-through penalty. As now we go to Steve Painter. And he's trying to close. That is on. Well, he's got Stigfort just up ahead, and you can just see how much damage. You know, the damage models here on Assetto Corsa Competizione are quite realistic. Steve Painter's car is tracking a bit too much to the left-hand side, and obviously it's had a front-end impact. So Steve Painter might decide to get that car into the pits sooner rather than later, repair the damage and take one of the mandatory pit stops and put maybe some new boots on that car and put some fuel in it.
Quite honestly, that would be his best choice right now, because as we saw just now, he was in the slipstream, but still already has quite a lot of deficit in straight line speed, so not just suspension damage, but also aero damage, and that's just a combination that you really don't need at Monza.
Yeah, especially when GT3 cars, okay, they might be in a low drag setup, as Sitiano has pitted, but in the meantime, Luke Whitehead has got past Jan-Niklas Ebrich. So it is a trio of Falterbach's finest at the front of the field, with Max Waffel leading the way ahead of Yannick Ruoff. Luke Whitehead rounds out the top three. Jan Heiler getting a bit fisty-cufty there with Zarzecki in the Lamborghini number 32. But Adam Plivac, who was towards the bottom part of the top 20, now up into 11, and has got Oscar Saristo from Finland not too far behind them. We got Pari, Foch, and then Cassis-Salu. Cassis-Salu was qualified a bit further up the order, but now has dropped down to 15th position. So the Ferrari of Jan Reiler in 3, looking to close up on Ben Norton. There's Pripana from Estonia. He's got Seth just behind from the Revolt Racing team. So it is a Lambo. It's actually the Reiter RX car, not the. It's in the silhouette of a Lamborghini, but it's not called a Lamborghini. Actually piloted by Caitlin Wood back a few years ago when she won the Reiter Engineering Young Stars and got a drive, becoming the first woman driver to compete in the Blancpain GT Sprint Series in the Lamborghini, the Reiter Engineering GT3 car, which looks like a Lamborghini but is badged otherwise.
Yeah, obviously badged on top of the Gallardo, but with an evolution kit, more or less. The REX Evo, I think it's called overall. And yeah, this is normally one of the cars that is quite fast in a straight line. But I think also a little bit of different behavior now after this aero recalculation.
Well, Alexander Doricott looks to be making some moves up the order. He's past Pinamets, and there was a bit of a howler there made by Neuwirth in the number 63. So Alexander Doricott, the usual regular that we've seen a few times previously. And Zarzecki has now got a drive-through penalty for Titus, for a move on Titus, which could have been avoidable contact. So the Polish driver in the number 32 Lamborghini Huracan will have to serve a drive-through penalty. And very shortly you'll see that on your screen. Zarzecki running in 10th position at the moment, but that will be out of the top 15 for the Polish driver. But in the meantime, at the front of the field, Max Waffel is still leading. Zarzecki trying to close in on Reiler, but the thing is that Zarzecki's got to serve that penalty within 3 laps of it being officially issued by race control. So even though it's just under 10 minutes in, Nicolas, we've had a lot of excitement. And it looks to be increasing now as Luke Whitehead trying to go side by side. He got the slipstream coming out of the Parabolica on Yannick Ruoff, and he's going to go up the inside into the Rettifilio. And Nick, he tangles! Oh, he tangles with one of the backmarker Mercedes. Oh, that is not what Luke Whitehead wanted at all. And now he's got to do the gentlemanly thing. He's doing the right thing here. He's letting Yannick Ruoff get back past Curva Grande, but that's allowing the door to be open for Jan-Niklas Ebrich, who's right in the slipstream. The Lexus really coming into its own against the pair of Mercedes.
I think that might still be a penalty, though, because that was quite a big misjudgment. I think just saw the brake marker a little bit too late, or misjudged the brake marker for another one, but that is just one thing that can happen really, really quickly here. And just very unfortunate for him, and the big profiting party from this, I think, will be Ebrich in the end.
Very much the case. I think, unfortunately, now that Luke Whitehead will find himself without a proverbial creek in a boat without a paddle, as Foch has now come back out in the number 8 Lamborghini in 31st. And right, I've just been informed that Johnson will be getting a drive-through for an incident on that will be Revrock. So Stephen Johnson not having so quite a few drivers. There were quite a few incidents that it's taken a few minutes for our race director and race steward to get those all investigated. They're using multiple different angles, and I think that was probably more than likely a Scary chicane, if I remember correctly, because Johnson was in the Lexus and Revrock was in the Bentley.
Yeah, that's just one of these things, of course. As soon as a car's turned around, people have to take evading action, so they'll have to be a bit more careful. And a lot of people in that moment will, of course, see, oh, slow car, let's go for that gap that exists, going for that Senna quote, which, of course, had a little bit of a different backstory. And there's actually for the first chicane there.
Fock has just got a bit of a rude awakening. Gillespie and a very
and gets collected as well.
Second-hand damage. That was through Ascari there. So I don't know what happened there. Fock just went round got past him, and I'm not too sure what happened. Did Gillespie just miscalculate that completely? Because that was a complete T-bone on the Huracan, and Samir Foch has quite literally gotten away with that one, so to speak. No, he hasn't, because look, I was going a bit sideways there through Parabolica, so wondering if that's caused a bit more damage to that Lamborghini, and he's coming straight back into the pits. He knows that it's not running right.
Yeah, as he was stationary there. Okay. I'm just looking back a little replay that I've found. So Foch got a little bit too far on the right side, hit one of the anti-cuts of Ascari there before you switch over to the last left-hander. And that upset the car. Gillespie had nowhere to evade, and then the back marker maybe a little bit too enthusiastic with, cars obviously spinning in front of him, hitting Foch completely into the side as well, and that is quite a lot of damage that has to be repaired.
That's a real shame, as we're now going back towards the bottom part of the top 25. There is Paolo Cisco, and that is Umberto Noto. Now, I recognise Noto had qualified quite high up the field. I think he was one of the cars that was turned around at that very same point that they've just gone through. So we're going to go on board with the Bentley, the 504 from Umberto Noto. 260 kilometers an hour and you can just see trying to put the power down in the Bentley, it just snap and break traction. But nice control there from the Italian driver as they're now going to come across the start-finish line. And that was a 1 minute 51.4 from Umberto Noto. 7/10 off of his best lap time. There's Martin Ritson in the white, and that was a send and a half there by Umberto Noto. As Paolo runs wide coming out of the Rettio and loses an absolute handful of places. I think I count 2 or 3 cars that just got past in that particular moment as Matthias Elbrecht now up the inside of Wojciech Neuwirth there. And that's the battle for 15th position. So a lot of twists and turns here so far, Nicolas, and we're not even 15 minutes in.
Yeah, that's for sure. Quite a few unpredicted things that happened here. Quite honestly, with almost tradition, so to say, I had sort of expected Gergely Consabo to die in turn 1, but that didn't happen, luckily for him, and in the last couple of events he was quite upset about that, because every time he had a rather good qualifying and nothing happened of it in the end. But now, with the Jaguar, with the, I think at this point, almost 20-year-old car, 15 or 11-year-old car, I'd say, he's doing very, very well indeed.
Well, that was the 7.5 there. Nicely done there by Jan. Into the braking zone of the Variante del Rettifilo on Luke Whitehead as they now hurtle their way through into Cova Grande. Turn 2, as we go into the back windscreen cam of the Lexus, the 299 from Germany. That's a really, really good move that he just did there for P3. Herzl in the background there in the 79. Well, he's actually closing whilst these two are squabbling away like a pair of petulant children looking to jump on the swing in the playground, even though it might be snowing wherever you are across the globe if you're in the north of England. Yuri Stickfort now closing on Martin Ritson. It is Godzilla versus Godzilla. Into the Rettofilio, the Dutch driver, trying to go up the inside of the Estonian. And they nearly go side by side through the first part. But it's a bit of a run wide there from the Dutch driver. And Ritson gets the advantage, as that's Pritpana in the number 12 Ferrari, not too far behind. So Zarzecki yet to serve his drive-through. Steve Johnson currently serving his drive-through. And there is the the driver that's hopefully going to be the comeback kid on the trail. Mihai Suțianu in the number 22 BMW, who has a bit of a fall from hero to zero after that contact between himself and Luke Whitehead on the very first corner, on the very first lap. But that's a quite easily done move there by Suțianu. I think Pirmats knew that Suțianu was going to close on him and decided, well, I've got damage to the front of my my car, I'm going to let him pass.
Yeah, Suțianu with that little swing over, maybe a little bit too optimistic there, and that is one of the things that can easily happen at Ascari. Just too keen to follow the car in front through. But of course, a BMW has a bit of an easier time over sudden curbs than the Aston Martin.
Well, what a drive so far from Alexander Doricott. Look, he's going to make it 3 wide with Party and Norton as they're going to head down to the Rettofilio. It's Mercedes versus BMW versus Lexus, and the Lexus gets the advantage. If Doricott's made that, he's gone from 14th to 12th.
Takes both of them.
He's literally, that was completely unbridled performance. So Alexander Doricott has really tried to keep himself in the pecking order, and he's done a really good job there. You know, Ben Norton, I think Doricott just had the run. And think of it from this perspective, Nicholas, that if you get a really good run, you could get up to, 10 to 12 kph assisted momentum coming down a straightaway?
Yeah, definitely. I'd say even maybe up to 15, depending on how close you are and how many cars are in front of you. So, quite a bit of overspeed.
Yes, yeah. You don't need a push-to-pass or a DRS system. You just need good old slipstreaming. As Mikkel Pari trying to go side by side with Ben Norton heading into the Ascari chicane. The BMW will have the inside line and takes it nice and cleanly there through both the first and the second part through the left-hander. As there's one of the Ferraris. I think that's going to be one of the back markers there just behind in the black Ferrari. So that is not going to be a battle for position for that Ferrari. But yeah, I mean, some standout drives here at the minute. Suțianu, who's going to try and close on the 16th placed Nissan of Mateusz Albrecht in the 86. There's Luke Whitehead, who's now he's been dropped by the likes of Ruoff and Ebrich, and Calvin Herzl now trying to go up the inside of the Mercedes. Is this going to be the change for 4th position? That is the case, and that is going through into the Variante della Roggia. So Herzl from Germany in the good time racing. Kermit Green, I might add. Mercedes doing a great job there. Mateusz Albrecht now has Suțianu going up the inside, nice and clean there from the number 22. Far cry, unfortunately, for what we saw, where it was a carambolage and everyone went hurtling into turn 1. It was 3 abreast and something was going to give. And unfortunately, Luke Whitehead's rear end through contact started turning around. Calvin Herzl now will start. I think what they've got to start doing now, both he and Luke Whitehead have got to really start pushing the envelope. They've got to start working together and then sort of have that inter-Mercedes battle towards the end of the race, as we now see that Ben Norton has pitted, Pari has pitted, Zarzecki has pitted for that drive-through. So even though we're 20 minutes in, the strategies are still going to play out right in front of us here, Nicholas.
Yeah, and I think we also have that really fun dynamic here. In first and second, we have the new Mercedes. In third, we have, of course, Niklas Ebrich with the Lexus. And in fourth and fifth, we have the old Mercedes. So, yeah, the old Mercedes boys trying to take the fight to the new ones. And right now, maybe I think they're just trying to work together here.
Yep, it's the old veterans versus the young upstarts. In Mercedes land here at Monza, but also you have to give credit to Gergely Kunsabo from Hungary at the moment, the number 11 Merry Christmas livery Jaguar XKRS GT3, currently running in 7th position at the moment. And Jan Rilla in the number 333 Ferrari 488 GT3 is trying to keep pace. Very similar liveries between the pair of them as well. But yeah, I mean, the Jaguar showing its legs here as Talon Salu being... that is Mateusz Elbrecht from Estonia trying to go up the inside. So the two Estonians, two country. Oh, there's Seth trying to get into the battle in the right, and Elbrecht gets a bit of a rear haunch nudge from the Reiter Engineering RX3 there. So that's definitely not going to please the Nissan driver. That could awake the inner Godzilla.
Yeah, perhaps. I think, to be honest, there was a little bit too much of an attempt to just stay ahead there. A little bit too much of an attempt to just step on the throttle and go back ahead of the car. But as we're speaking about that Reiter right now, 15th place. I think he started outside the top 25, so quite a ways he's made up there. As well, I think, as you were talking about Doricott earlier, I think he actually started on the last row.
That's a brilliant run from him. Well, you know how they say that the leaders do come under some sort of wrath from the stewards. Well, that has just happened, Nicholas, because Luke Whitehead, and that was Janar Titus that he went up the inside of and clattered into the Rettifilio chicane. Whitehead now gets a drive-through, as we see. One of the BMWs, that was definitely not Sheldon Scott Muscat, who's just about to come through the Rettifilio chicane. That could have been possibly, I might think that might be Ben Norton that just straight-lined at the Rettifilio, but yeah, Luke Whitehead now will be pinged for a drive-through penalty from race control. That again changes the dynamic. So looks like there's going to be one old veteran in terms of the cars that they're driving, trying to go against up against the two upstarts. As that is Pripana, and then you've got that is Martin Ritson in the Nissan just behind, and the Nissan's going to get a bit of overspeed now going down the main straightaway. Kasisalu has also got a drive-through. So I'm wondering if Kasisalu is at an incident. I'm sure that race control will tell us in due course, as we're about 6 minutes and 40 seconds away from the completion of the first third of this 90-minute end-of-year race here on World Pro Racing, with myself, Alex Goldschmidt, and Niklas Hellbrand taking you through all the action. Don't forget, if you want to join us for 2021 and beyond, why not register with us at worldproracing.com. We hold weekly casual races, special events and championships on both PC and PS4 platforms. We do also use, apart from Assetto Corsa Competizione, R Factor 2, Gran Turismo Sport, amongst other platforms. Stephen Johnson now coming under fire, and that is one of the Mercedes 2020 Evos about to go past, and that could be the number 66, I believe, or possibly not. Just wait to see if I can check that number. It is the number 6, 66. So that is the Mercedes that got the bit of a biff to the left by Luke Whitehead, unfortunately. So Janard Titus from Team Cruising Missiles. I like the colour scheme on that. A bit of sort of deep gold with some black thrown in for good measure. Some nice changes of colour here on the grid for the 90 minutes of Monza.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's one of the big strengths, of course, as well for Assetto Corsa Competizione. You can't make a complete custom livery just with the normal in-game tools, but you can make these ones in the livery editor with these basic paint schemes and stuff, but also with a very wide range of colors and in different tones, you know, in matte and glossy, metallic, chrome, and you can just get such stunning liveries out of that. So very nice to see a lot of variety from that in this simulator.
Definitely the case. Definitely the case. It's just going to be one of those things where you know that the drivers are really going to start trying to move forward and going from there. So there's Martin Ritson, as it looks like Kasisalu has served the penalty, the drive-through penalty, in the 88 Lamborghini, dropping to 22nd position. So Max Waffel leads the way by 5.3 seconds from Yannick Ruoff, who in turn is 1.2 seconds up the road from Jan-Niklas Ebrich. Calvin Herzl rounds out the top 4, with Luke Whitehead completing the top 5, but I don't think he's served his drive-through yet. I think he's still got another lap in hand, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think he has to go in now, because otherwise it would end his race unceremoniously a little bit earlier than expected, around an hour earlier than expected. But yeah, there we are. Now out down in 10th, but still not all too bad considering everything. And obviously, I think now we're going to be a little bit more careful with moves, and very nicely hits his braking mark into turn 1 this time.
Yeah, so it's going to be very, very much the case on how many drivers will try and keep things nice and planted. There's Oscar Saristo in that sort of respect. And now, dropping out of the top 15 positions. So Saristo could be on the back foot, was running as high as, I think, 10th or 11th position. There's Mikkel Pari in the number 77 from Estonia. Another one of the Team Cruising Mistral Mercedes, as that is Albrecht going up the inside. I just spotted there of Pirmets in the Aston Martin. Calvin Heutzel is currently running in P4 ahead of Sheldon Scott Muscat, who rounds out the top 5 in the number 14 BMW. Alexander Doricott, though, is the name that really, really still keeps on. That car, he's done an absolutely brilliant job. He's been running consistently in the 149s. The Brit in the number 19 Tech 1 Racing liveried Lexus. He's running in P9. And the next car on his list to, not to sort of, figuratively speaking, throw to one side or just literally just go up the inside of him is Adam Plivac. So it's been a very, very good, consistent run from Doricott so far.
Yeah, especially if you consider everything that happened throughout the field. Somehow he must have evaded all of that and just obviously benefited from the chaos that came through that, and just kept it consistent, kept it clean, and that's what we just keep saying all the time. You know, if you don't really have to start on the front row, because wherever you are in the field, there's still an accident that's waiting to happen. And if you can just keep it clean, if you can keep it completely out of trouble, you can still get a fantastic finish in the end.
Yeah, very much the case. So there is Matthias Albrecht ahead of Silva Pirmets. That's the battle for the last position on the top 15 here at Monza. As it looks like Paolo Sisco is pitted. So that has given another position back to Estonia's Casessalu. That is Paolo Sisco from the Nord-Est Racing team in the Italian Tricolore, adorning not just his national flag, but also that BMW M6 GT3. Now coming into for the first of probably 2 mandatory pit stops. All drivers must serve 2 mandatory pit stops. Refueling is required on both stops, and it is down to the driver's discretion whether they put a new set of tyres on it. In the meantime, Max Waffel and Calvin Herzl have now pitted from 3rd and 4th respectively. There is the Estonian of Waffel, who at one point was leading the race, and now that lead has now gone to Germany's Yannick Ruoff in the Good Time Racing 297 Mercedes AMG GT3 2020 Evo variation, and he has closely got behind the 299 of Jan-Niklas Ebrich. So these two really need to start working together. Okay, be great if they could work against one another, but the biggest problem is, as we now see that Luke Whitehead has pitted, Wojciech Neuwirth has also pitted. That's from 11th and 12th respectively. The drivers now really, really starting to plan out these strategies.
Yeah, it's all starting to fall into place now. Kunsabon up into 6th place as well. And I think especially now considering that we have so much traffic now already through crashes, through penalties, through everything, And of course also through pace difference between the different drivers and the battles that developed. I think that we can look forward to a lot of position swapping now, just in between just all of them in the lead, because as we have Max Waffel there just now, unceremoniously going over the anti-cuts on turn 2, I think that Yannick Rohoff, if he just keeps it clean now, and the same goes for Niklas Erbrich as well, if they can both keep it clean, they might just jump their counterparts that they've been chasing in this race so far.
Yeah, very much the case. So the drivers, really, as you can see now, Jan-Niklas Ebri, closing up right up close and personal to the back bumper of Yannick Rohoff there for the lead. 58.5 minutes still remaining. More drivers now opting to have their mandatory pit stop. So the drivers really starting to do their utmost. As there is Sheldon Muscat. Jan Heiler is actually closing on the BMW now, and that's for what is effectively third on the road. But this is going to consistently change. Down the gears into the De La Roggia chicane, and then up to the two right-handers at the Lesmos. You can just see how hard Jan Heiler is working behind the wheel of that Ferrari 488 in the 333. And we're getting to that stage now. Obviously, the tyres have gone past their prime, Nicolas, but it is also about conservation. Now, one of the things that Jan Heiler is doing at the moment is using Sheldon Muscat as a buffer, because Muscat is putting all the hard work in, and he's giving Heiler a tow effectively, but they've got back marker traffic up ahead. So Jan Heiler will be using less tyres, less throttle, less fuel, so he might, if he can, get the undercut on Sheldon Scott Muscat for that position in the not too distant future.
Either that, or he's going to just try and use him as a sort of snowplow for the traffic, or that can happen and he just tries to go down the inside like that, which he has done quite nicely.
And he's now got into the pits, and so is Sheldon Scott Muscat. So Heiler actually made the jump over Muscat, going into the pits.
And I think Doricott is following as well.
Yeah, so they're all starting. Yeah, so they're all starting to flood in. There's one of the Bentleys coming through, and that would be Umberto Noto, I believe. So yeah, at the moment, Yannick Rohoff still leads, and there comes Adam Plivac, one of the many Polish drivers in this field. And there goes Sheldon Scott Muscat.
Definitely opted for a smaller splash and dash then.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. I'm wondering if he went actually... Oh, Umberto Noto is the first driver to be caught speeding in the pit lane and gets a stop-go 30 for his troubles. So that is not what Umberto Noto wanted. And that will drop him out of the top 20. Max Waffel currently now sitting in what is going to be 7th position, because there's been quite a few other drivers that have pitted. Plivac has pitted. Doricott has pitted. Jan Heiler. Well, Plivac. Oh, now there's been a bit of a touch there, and that was involving... No, that was not Calvin Herzl, was it? My goodness, and that was one of the Lexuses. That would have been Adam Plivac. So if those two have come together, that means that Herzl... Again, that's 2 touches for Plivac, and that time that was Mihai Suțianu. So I think Herzl and Suțianu will incur the wrath of the officials very, very shortly. Both of them clashed with the Polish driver in the number 18 Lexus. It's not what you need after the first pit stop. And look, there's a bit of a run wide there, and that is Paulo... Yeah, that is Paulo Cisco in the BMW. So Suțianu could incur the wrath of the officials, as will Calvin Herzl. Drama with over, with just over 54 3/4 minutes still to go in this race. Another one where the sand timer has been restarted once again.
Yeah, I think that's... I think everyone's now getting a bit too comfortable, maybe. Like they've made the first 30 minutes, I think a lot of people, for them mentally, because the cars are usually the closest together there, it's the most difficult part of the race for them. And maybe now that they have their first stop after them, I think that's a little bit too much comfort for them just to sink into and to just get a little more argy-bargy, and obviously that was a little bit too much of that.
Yeah, well, they do say that rubbing's racing, but then racing is normally meant to be a non-contact sport anyway, especially in my line of work as a karting commentator. We've had one car go into the barriers off of the second Lesmo. So there is Mihai Suțianu, now sitting in P10 at the moment, with Calvin Heutzel a little bit further up the road. And that was Vakrum from Estonia that was the one that speared into the barriers there. And that front of that Nissan looking unreservedly needing repairs there, as that is Umberto Noto. I think has just served the stop-go 30. And the Bentley definitely on the back foot there. Gergely Kunsabo has got Alexander Doricott breathing down the back end of the exhaust pipes on that Jaguar. And both these cars and both these drivers have really put themselves into the spotlight here this evening.
Yeah, definitely. Kunsabo now, of course, I think he still hasn't pitted, but either way, carrying that Jaguar up to 3rd place, and Chef in 5th place, actually carrying that Reiter up into the top 5. So I think they're opting for a quite late stop, maybe just a normal scheduled stop at the 1 hour into the race mark, and then just a 1 liter splash and dash at the end.
So Diego Riboldi there is being hustled. It's BMW versus BMW, and just behind is Gifted Racing Team's Ben Norton. Norton not having a great run this evening, unfortunately, down in 18th position, but there is still 52.25 minutes remaining in this final race here on World Pro Racing for 2020. So if you do want to get involved with us for 2021, head to worldproracing.com to register your interest. Our first casual race of the 2021 season will be at Circuit Zolder in Belgium on the 12th of January. And that will be at 20:30 Central European time on all the relevant channels. And that is completely filled to the brim. No spots available. Further details on the World Pro Racing Assetto Corsa Competizione Sprint Series Season 2 will be out on our website in due course. As there is one of the new generation Mercedes that has just got past Zarzecki, and just behind there is and also just to let you all know that there are further endurance races in the pipeline here on World Pro Racing, so make sure you keep abreast of everything. Follow us on social media, on Twitter, on Instagram, like our page on Facebook, and also check out our website, worldproracing.com. So at the moment, also, if you want to head on to the Discord, you can also find that via our relevant website too. But at the front of the field at the minute, there's been not much change. I mean, Jan-Niklas Ebrich still running in. Well, he's only 0.8 of a second ahead of Yannick Ruoff. And I think, if memory serves me correctly, Nicholas, that neither of them have pitted so far in this race. They've gone for nearly 40 minutes.
They definitely haven't, but they have to watch out as well with their pit strategy because, as you said before, we have a 5 times time accelerator. The thing that'll happen now is actually, like comparing to the time that we started at, it was around 30 degrees track temperature here. Now it's at 22, so this is already getting into the range of you have to start adjusting your tire pressure. And I'm pretty certain that a lot of people will have these issues by now, that their tires are simply just getting too cold. Their pressures are not properly enough anymore to stay on optimum pressure.
Yeah, and there is Calvin Heutzel in the number 79 Good Time Racing Mercedes. That's going through into the De La Roccia chicane. And he's already made a pit stop as there's a move for the lead. Jan-Niklas Ebrich ahead of countryman Yannick Ruoff. but it's still nip and tuck between the pair of them. They now go through into Curva Grande, and Ruoff just letting Ebrich know that he's there, up towards the De La Roggia chicane. Ebrich goes on the brakes early. A little bit of a touch from behind, and that actually helps rather than hinders Ebrich, but definitely hinders Ruoff that particular occasion as they now go on board with the 297 Mercedes. A bit of a departure normally from what we see from Yannick Ruoff, as Niklas mentioned earlier in the broadcast. Normally races in the Porsche 911 GT3R. Now has switched to Mercedes power. Now
Definitely seems to suit him.
It definitely does, especially around this track. But you know what? One of the biggest things is the Lexus has been absolutely mighty, especially when it gets in the slipstream. And Jan-Niklas Ebrich has used that to absolutely fantastic, I wouldn't say perfection, he's put it to fantastic use here this evening. And the track temperature and the air temperature, the sun is starting to fade here at Monza. The track and air temperature now on exactly the same, 21 degrees Celsius. Track is at optimum. Mainly predominantly sunshine with a little bit of cloud overhead, as there is Ed Revrock. And I think that was, I'm not too sure who that was one of the Lexuses going past. I think that might have been Plivac, as there is Sheldon Scott Muscat, and he's got Max Waffel from Estonia breathing down the back exhaust pipes of his BMW. And there is Muscat flashing one of the cars in front. That would have been probably one of the Team Cruising Missile Mercedes, to say, look, get out of my way because I've got someone right up my back bumper. And Max Waffel now is trying to go side by side underneath the tunnel, heading towards the Ascari chicane. The Mercedes, Waffel got a really good run coming out of the second Lesmo, and he just literally gets it in front of Muscat just before the Ascari chicane is all. Someone had a moment there going through the second part of it. I think that could have been Plivac there.
No, that was Foch. That was Foch.
Oh, that was Foch in the Lamborghini. So, yeah, that was very, very good reactions there from both Muscat and Waffel. And also the Mercedes just behind them, as Muscat now trying to put the boot on the other foot of Max Waffel. But then you can just see how quickly that Mercedes powers away from the BMW out of the corners.
Yeah, that's just absolutely astonishing to see the power of the new Mercedes. Actually, also grounds for a little bit of complaints from a couple drivers.
So, bit of a... yeah, well, that was a moment and a half for Sheldon Scott Muscat. That was definitely new underwear on aisle 3, quite clearly needed for the number 14 BMW, as there's someone else that's gone off, and that is that Paulo Cisco, possibly, that's just gone off, and that front end of that BMW has been completely rearranged. And as the sunlight really starts to fade here at Monza, we are now officially halfway through this race.
Yeah, that is just quite tricky now. I think people haven't adjusted their tire pressures enough, otherwise that car wouldn't be so loose. But look at that, there's Ebrich now battling with Waffel and Ruoff, all of them coming out of the pit lane. Oh well, obviously Waffel has been in the pit lane already, but those three now, and this is exactly what I had anticipated. This is what I thought would possibly happen if the two of them just stay clear of traffic, just stay clear of racing each other to harm, they could challenge Waffle again, and they are right now.
I was going to say, did you get a... straight line and a half there by Jan Niklas Ebrich through the De La Roggia chicane, and he's had to do the honourable thing there and give the places back. I think he just went in there a bit too hot. I was going to ask, actually, before Jan Niklas Ebrich quite rudely interrupted what I was about to say. Did you get a crystal ball for Christmas, Nicholas?
No, I didn't, but it's just future vision that you attain when you have nothing else to do in life other than just race and race and race.
Well, eloquently put there, sir, as Yannick Ruoff and Jan Niklas Ebrich going side by side through the Ascari. Oh, Ebrich is going to lose the back end, but he caught it. Oh, mamma mia. And look, he's not happy.
And Muscat is right behind that.
Muscat, I think, oh, dearie me, I think these drivers, you know, the caliber of the field that we have here in this 90 minutes of Monza, you know, Ebrich has a massive, you know, shortcuts De La Roggia. They then go through Ascari and it's side by side between him and Ruoff. And then Muscat's got the ringside seat. I bet he wasn't expecting that one at all. Well, would you believe that? Would you believe that? We've had massive moments on the first lap, and now, just over halfway through the race, who would have thought that would have happened, Nicholas?
Yeah, it's definitely quite surprising to say the least. And now the Jaguar still leading, and actually as you said, the Reiter in second place, the oldest cars being the furthest ones up here. And if they actually pull this off, I'd be very, very impressed to say the least, but that would be one of the best strategy wins I've ever seen.
Yeah, the biggest question I've got for you, Nicholas, obviously you might be able to see this better than I can. Have they both pitted? I don't think they have they?
I think neither of them has pitted so far, but the thing is, if they just play this well, if they don't actually go for tires, they could make it very well through the race on a quite short notice. Like, how do you say it in English? They could make it through the race on one tire set quite easily if they just conserve the tires now and just do one full fuel stop and then one splash and dash.
Yeah, play the long game and have a sort of like being nip and tuck at the end of it. As I've just seen that Calvin Heitzel got through past Sheldon Scott Muscat in the Ascari chicane. So the GT Omega RPM Esports driver in the number 14, the back end of that BMW looked a bit snaky as he tried to put the power down through the cover Parabolica. Alexander Doricott still keeping himself very much in contention for a potential at least a top 10 finish. As Felix Zeff now comes into the pit lane in the Reiter Engineering GT3 car. Incredibly heavily modified in comparison to what a normal Gallardo would have been, as there is Paulo Cisco being passed, and I just seen that was Luke Whitehead in the background there, flashing away on his front fog lights. There's Adam Plivac being passed up the inside by Jan Heiler into the Retafilio chicane. So Whitehead currently sitting in 12th place. Mihai Sutianu, I've just noticed, is currently running 8th. So the Romanian has now made a few inroads in the meantime as Whitehead goes past one of the Team Cruising Missile Mercedes. And that is into the Retafilio, and that is the 66 car. And that would have been of Titus from Estonia that he's just got past. So 50 minutes down, 40 to go here at the 90 minutes of Monza, here on World Pro Racing, live and direct on TVM Sports in Malta, Esports TV, Motorsport.tv, and the World Pro Racing live streams on Facebook, Twitch, and YouTube. As Yannick Ruoff still being pestered by Jan Niklas Ebrich, and there is Max Waffel going around the outside. I think that was Stigvort in the number 28 Nissan that is currently 19th at the moment. But Gergely Kunsabo is still leading, and I'm wondering what the gap is between Gergely Kunsabo and Max Waffel at the moment. 2.7 seconds. And then you got a further 1.5 covering the remainder of the top four between Max Waffel, Yannick Ruoff, and Jan-Niklas Ebrich. Calvin Herzl in 5th place is 2.6 seconds adrift off of 4th. And it's a further nigh on 3.1 seconds back to Sheldon Scott Muscat. But Mihai Sutianu at the moment has done a bit of a good recovery drive so far in the number 22 BMW. And is that... Yeah, that was Yannick Ruoff he's just passed. Has Ruoff had a moment?
Yeah, must have been in turn 1, I think. Maybe just misjudged his braking. Or I think actually he was quite close with another car. I think there might have been another bit of contact.
And he was battling away, let's not forget, with Jan-Niklas Ebrich. Neuwirth from the Czech Republic still currently sitting in what is 14th position behind Oskar Saristo from Finland. So Ruoff now down in 7th position. He's got, I think that's Adam Plivac, not too well, who will be behind him in terms of track positioning. And Plivac is quite a distance behind. There is Plivac coming through the second Lesmo. And he's got Jan Heiler. And now it looks like the number 333 Ferrari here, Niklas, has got some really, really good pace. And as the track temperature has now dropped another 2 degrees, the server now at 7:49 p.m. local time as it would be, or local time to Italy at that particular point on the server. That Ferrari seems to be getting better and better as the cooler temperatures come into play.
Yeah, the Ferrari is one of these cars that is a little bit of a contradiction, because of course you would see, you know, as it's built in Italy, you know, it's a very hot country, southern country, very nice Mediterranean weather. Normally the car should be able to deal very well with hot temperatures, but as soon as it goes over 30 degrees, the Ferrari gets a little bit slower and slower. But these night temperatures, 19 degrees or colder, down to 10 degrees maybe, just the temperatures when it can still keep its tires warm, that's where it really likes to stretch its legs. That's where the tires for it provide the most optimum grip. And, well, Jan Reiler can probably sing a song about that right now. That's where the car feels the most comfortable.
Well, I've just noticed that Gergely Kunsabo, who's just gone in for his first mandatory pit stop, Jan-Niklas Ebrich, I think has just, has he just done his second stop? Oh, he's really, if he's done that, he's gone, Jan-Niklas Ebrich has gone for the really, really long game. He's trying to do a Sergio Perez at the moment.
Yeah, but that is the beauty of these 2 mandatory pit stops. You can just try to poker as much as you want, and that is actually quite interesting. The other 32 Lamborghini, I think, that's a lapped car unlapping itself from Sheldon Scott Muscat.
Yeah,
so,
that's Zarzecki. Yeah, Zarzecki, the Polish driver, who has had a drive-through earlier on in this race. So Muscat is sort of like saying, doing the old "thou shalt not pass." You're a lap car. I mean, the thing is that in some respects, there's a lot of etiquette when it comes to GT3 racing. If you are the lap car and you are quicker than the car in front, which might be on the lead lap, if you're going to make the move, you make the move cleanly, but it's also down to the driver that you are unlapping yourself from to also make sure that things are nice and fair. And you and I have both seen it before, Nicholas, let's be completely honest here, where someone's decided, yeah, well, get out of my way, I'm faster than you. Well, you're not battling me for position, so you're not getting past. And it goes horribly wrong.
It also may have been me already in my racing times in either role. So yes, that is something that...
Spoken from experience then.
Yes.
Oh dear. Well, there we go. As the it now hits 8:02 p.m, we're going to be heading into the night here. We've got 35 minutes still to go. Zarzecki again has put the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 into the pits as Adam Plivac now is closing on Jan Heiler, who was at one point very, very close to Yannick Ruoff. So it looks like as Ruoff in that Mercedes. Now, Sutianu, last lap from him was a 1:48.9. So at the moment, the running order with just over 34.5 minutes to go. It's Max Waffel leading the way. Calvin Heitzel in second. Sheldon Scott Muscat in third. Mihai Sutianu in fourth, and we're on board the driver just behind the 297 Good Time Racing Mercedes AMG GT3, Germany's Yannick Ruoff. You can just see how hard Ruoff is pushing, and Sutianu trying to do his level best, but that BMW there, Nicolas, looks very, very composed indeed.
Yeah, it looks a lot more calm through the entirety of Ascari compared to Ruoff's rather frantic inputs here to just try and keep that car right behind the BMW. Mercedes did something quite risky with this Evo kit. Of course, we know that their car in F1, you know, it's a very, very good car on downforce, but it can't really follow other cars. It's the same childhood illness that I think a couple of Red Bulls had in their time, in the time from 2010 to 2013. The car is excellent in clean air, but in dirty air it loses its efficiency. And I've seen that again and again and again as well in the new Mercedes Evo kit, that dirty air is just taking a lot bigger of an effect than the non-Evo Mercedes. And maybe that is the reason as well, why Whitehead, for example, maybe have gone for the non-Evo Mercedes instead. As I'm speaking of it, he also just comes into the pit lane for a second pit stop.
Yeah, very true. The drivers having to make that judgment call there. And there's Tom Revox, Jano Titus in the 66 from Estonia, Team Cruising Missiles. Silva Pirmets down in 34th position, but I'm wondering if that looks to be a bit of an extended stay there for the Aston Martin. As we go into the night here at Monza, the track temperature still at 19 degrees Celsius as the number 66 of Jano Titus comes through Cova Grande into the Varianti della Roggia. Neuwirth has pitted as well from 15th in the number 63 Aston Martin. Now into the two Lesmos. I think you're pretty spot on there with regards to it. Reference the Evo on the Mercedes, that it doesn't like dirty air, it likes clean air, a bit like the W11 that saw Lewis Hamilton secure his 7th Formula 1 world title this season. Felix Zeff in the 243 Reiter Engineering RXE3 based on the Lamborghini Gallardo, and he's got Sheldon Scott Muscat just behind in the number 14 BMW. So I know that Zeff has already pitted once. And there is Adam Plivac, currently in P5 at the moment. And he's got the 333 Ferrari 488 GT3 there of Jan Heiler just up ahead. So Plivac also coming good in the Lexus. And then you look a bit further down in the top 10 here, Nicolas, that you've got the likes of Gergely Kunsaba, the only Jaguar, I think, let alone in the top 10 in the entire field. Currently running in 6th. Alexander Doricott in the number 19 Lexus in 7th. We're on board with Jan-Niklas Ebrich in the 299. Then you've got Ben Norton. And there is the move up the inside. Timed to absolute perfection by Sheldon Scott Muscat on Felix Zeff. And we go on board with this behemoth of what was originally a Lamborghini, now a Reiter Engineering GT3 car.
And Zeff is being really, really friendly there. I think we saw him just now start to gain a little bit of momentum because, as I said before, this car may not be the most aerodynamically efficient one when it comes to downforce, but it just has so much straight line speed. The Reiter really did a whole job of that when they unleashed this car onto the track.
Yeah, very much the case, and it is a car that really some drive. Right, we've had a new penalty being issued. A 5-second race time penalty has been added to Jan-Niklas Ebrich for contact with Yannick Ruoff a bit earlier on. So Jan-Niklas Ebrich, if he wins this, he's got to win it by over 5 seconds. And you can just see at the moment, it's not looking good for Jan-Niklas Ebrich, but then Max Waffel will have to watch himself Because look, you know, we said about the old veterans and the young guns in terms of the Mercedes AMG GT3. Well, Heitzer is in the highest placed non-Evo car, and he's 1.1 seconds behind Max Waffel. That's going to get rather interesting in the next 29 and a half minutes as darkness has truly fallen here at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza.
You really have to love this. Like, you really just have to love the lighting and how just overall, how the visuals just change from day to this very nice 8:33 p.m. nighttime now. How the lights just encaptured all of this. It's just so nice looking and overall still performing quite well. So, yeah, just something... When you're just driving, of course, you're not noticing it too much because you're just focusing on driving and trying to be fast, but when you're spectating, you just really have these nice visuals and you have this moment of awe of the realization, wow, 20 years ago I could still count pixels in EA's F1 2000.
Yeah, well, funnily enough, the Heitzer Engineering REX GT3, you were spot on with what you said earlier. It was the REX stood for Reiter Extensor. And they also, at that particular point, they also did the GT3 for the Chevrolet Camaro as well, didn't they? Reiter Engineering, the only one that decided to go with a... that was another GT3 car that made a sort of an impact for... I don't know whether it was all the right reasons or all the wrong reasons, but we heard of it, and then it sort of faded into obscurity. Look at the amount of sparks that came off the rear diffuser off Luca Ziga's Ferrari there, coming through the exit of Ascari. Craziness from the back end of that Ferrari there. I think Luca Ziga quite literally got away with that one, didn't he?
Yeah, we've got very, very lucky there, because normally with that amount of sparks, I expect the rear end to start overtaking the front end, so to say. But yeah, Camaro, another quite iconic car. I think that's actually a star of one of my first ever GT races I watched, Slovakia Ring, a couple years back, quite a few years back by now, where the Camaro was fighting the Corvette C6s and BMW Z4s, and you had these proper race cars, and then this brick that just flew away from everyone on the straights. Quite something to memorize.
Yeah, so again, we're just going to repeat this, that Jan-Niklas Ebrich has got a 5-second time penalty added to his total race time, as the German currently running in 6th position in the 299. Rainer Hesse looks to be the best of the Nissans at the moment, but that is Luke Whitehead on the back bumper. That's going through Parabolica. And they're going to go side by side. Whitehead's going to get the inside run. And also, Yannick Ruoff, I've just been informed, has also been hit with the 5-second time penalty, Nicholas, for an unsafe rejoin, or what the Australians in Virgin Australia Supercars would call a redress. So that was a great textbook move there by Luke Whitehead up the inside of Rainer Hesse to now take what is 15th position. And the darkness has well and truly fallen here. A bit like our GT4 casual race at Kyle Army, wasn't it, a few weeks back?
Yeah, it was very nice as well there. And once again, just how people adjust to these new temperatures and all that. And here we have Jan Reiler now in his, actually switched now to the Evo Ferrari. Quite interesting, because I've seen him drive quite a lot of races with the non-Evo still, as the Evo was already out. But yeah, coming in for his second pit stop and hoping for a good finish. And I think with his consistent times, he's probably earned that.
Yeah, so 25 minutes and 34 seconds still remain as we head on board the roof cam of Yuri Stigvort's Genetics Nissan GTR GT3 down the main straightaway. Looks like Jan Heiler coming out of the pits there. Be careful there, Jan, if he's on cold tyres and it's cold temperatures. Nice, threaded that very, very nicely. Did the 333. As Umberto Noto comes in for a final pit stop. Gergely Kunsabo. So Yannick Ruoff, who is now our leader at the minute, has a 5-second time penalty added to his total race time. I'm wondering what is the distance between him and Gergely Kunsabo in terms of the time. But before we do that, look, 22.4 seconds. between Ruoff and Kunsabo, but we're on board with Doricott at the moment, Alexander Doricott from Great Britain, and he is literally closing hand over fist on Gurgly Kunsabo. So this battle here is going to really, really intensify. But the other thing that we have to remember here, Nicolas, is that this could bring Jan Niklas Ebrich back into the fray, and I don't think he's that far behind.
Yeah, maybe it could. I think he already did his second pit stop, though, didn't he?
I think you're right there.
So Ruoff now has to try and get as much of a gap as possible. Both of them, of course, with the 5-second penalty. They'll have to look out that Waffel will just not gain too much time on them. But either way, if Ebrich can now keep it completely error-free and makes it through traffic better, I think around 20 seconds, that's around the time you lose just by driving through. But of course you have to stop the engine, restart the engine, of course, after you refuel, and depending on how much Ruoff actually has to refuel, that could turn out very interesting for the end of the race indeed.
I mean, it's effectively, so let's say, for instance, as an assumption here, let's say that Ruoff goes into the pits, loses 20 seconds for driving into and out of the pits, but then has 20 seconds worth of fuel and tires to put on. That could really, really change things quite dynamically, couldn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Ruoff right now, he still has very good pace. Takes all of the track there as well. And that non-EVO Mercedes doing a very good job for him right there with that nice little LED stripe on his antenna. Lighting up brightly in the night here. And yeah, I think overall, Kunsabo, I think, still has to pit once as well. So he's not going to be fighting for the win, I fear. But for Ebrich, this could be very interesting indeed.
Well, as they say never, as Doricott really closing on the back bumper again of Kunsabo. But to have that car, the oldest car pretty much on the grid, is Jan Heiler being pressurised. Is that Sheldon Muscat behind that? I think that is the case. So Sheldon Scott Muscat he's closing. Jan Heiler being having Munich's finest imposing itself on it from behind, and that is where Muscat, look how Sheldon Muscat must be having kittens every time that back end steps out on that BMW.
A little bit of a nervous rear end, so maybe his tire pressures for the tires weren't quite on point, but look at that straight line speed. The BMW really just has to stay close to that Ferrari and, well, just wait for the right moment. But Jan Reiler, if he keeps up his consistent performance, I trust him that he can hold that defense.
Well, I'm going to throw another name into the hat into the top 10 now. Oh, I've mentioned this guy a couple of times. Oscar Saristo in the number 10 Aston Martin, the highest placed Aston Martin in 9th position. As all mistake there. Mistake by Jan Heiler, and that was through De La Roggia, and that allowed Sheldon Scott Muscat to take the advantage. I think the Ferrari just went a bit too deep into the braking zone, and there is Oscar Saristo from Finland, and is a bit far behind Mihai Suțianu from Romania. But
I cursed Reiler, didn't I?
Well, you didn't curse Tanel Casasalu from Estonia. His race in that Lamborghini Huracan GT3 has gone from bad to worse coming out of the second Lesbo. So it's not been a great day for the Estonian here tonight. As all goes through the kitty litter once again on the right-hand side of Ascari, completely straight lines across the grass. We're now getting into that dangerous stage, aren't we? 20 minutes to go. And this could really be quite a decisive 20 minutes, Nicolas, because we all know, and you know from experience, when you're doing a race like this, it's quite difficult to keep your mental and physical attributes at 100% perfection. You can't, because you're going to expend energy. You're going to be mentally thinking, okay, I've got to look 2-3 corners ahead. You've got to measure every braking point correctly. What if you're on cold tyres? You've got to compensate for that, haven't you? So there's so much that these drivers need to get right in the next 19 and a half minutes.
Yeah, and that is just the thing that will be plaguing the back of your mind at this point. It probably won't be plaguing the back of the mind of Felix Chev, because he's been doing a stellar job to get this car up here to 12th place. If he can manage a top 10 finish in what is by now, I think, a 12-year-old car with a bit of overhauling, that would be quite a good race indeed.
Yeah, I'm actually going to look up the history of the Jaguar GT3 car from Emil Frey Racing. So yeah, I mean, yeah, it was actually, yeah, because it was the XKRS GT3 5-litre V8, and it was 2012 that car came into. Yeah, so it's I'm just going to actually look on a few sources here, but that is Ben Norton from Gifted Racing Team. And then here's Jan-Niklas Ebrich. Gergely Kunsabo now in for the final pit stop. Yeah, so yeah, the XKR based race car, which was built to GT3 specifications. It was the Jaguar XK Emil Frey G3. And it had an Ilmor prepared Jaguar 5-litre V8 engine, X-Track 6-speed gearbox, weighing just over 2,700 pounds, and it had 31 races, 3 victories, 7 podiums, 4 pole positions. So yeah, that was quite a good car. And then obviously, yeah, 2017 was the last season that Emil Frey used the car before they went to the RCF GT3, which was actually prepared by Toyota. There's Neuwirth, and that is going to be a back marker, I believe, or is that's one of the Ferraris just up ahead. So Wojciech Neuwirth in the 63 Aston Martin doing a very good job. Alexander Doricott, though, again, he's been like this stealthy, like ninja-like assassin in the Lexus, trying to do his absolute best to try and close in on Yannick Ruoff. So the Lexus has really come good to him. And as you said, I think he started right from the very back of the grid.
Yeah, I think so as well. And speaking of, our unexpected front runners, Kunsabo now has done his last stop as well. And actually, Felix Sev has managed to jump him in the Reiter REX. So we're looking at a legitimate battle of the ages here. I think this is, well, in race car years, I think this is basically like watching, two around 70 to 80-year-old men on Walmart scooters just racing each other. But these are the fastest Walmart scooters on the world, I think.
Yeah, definitely. And it would normally, if it was a scooter here in Italy, it would definitely be a Vespa, wouldn't it, of some description?
That would be quite a fitting image.
that would be quite entertaining down the city streets of Monza, but nowhere near the Tifosi. But we digress. 15 minutes and 42 seconds still to go. Ben Norton now being pressurised for what is 13th position. There's Luke Whitehead in the number 4 Mercedes, up towards the inside. As the two Brits now exchange places, do they? Yep, Whitehead keeps it nice and tight there and makes that Mercedes as wide as humanly possible. But then Ben Norton trying to keep pace with him going through Curva Grande, as they will now cross the timing being for Sector 1 before the Variante della Roggia. Both hard on the brakes. Into the left, and then into the right. 15 minutes to go officially here on the final race for World Pro Racing for 2020. The 90 minutes end of year race here at Monza. You want to join us in 2021? Simple. Register on worldproracing.com. You can also join us on our social media channels. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I think we're even on LinkedIn as well. You can also follow us on our relevant streams as well. If you're watching on the YouTube channel, why not hit the subscribe button, hit the like button for this video, and also, whilst you're at it, hit the notification bell. It will give you the latest information and obviously let you know when we go live here on World Pro Racing. As bit of a tank slapper for Ben Norton coming out of the Variante Ascari, hitting the sausage curbs on the exit going into the left-hander. Oh, he caught that one well and truly and saved that like a good one, didn't he?
Yeah, very nicely saved from him indeed. Normally just use that from Mr. Erbrich, saving full opposite lock coming out of that. But yeah, Ben Norton showing that you don't need a Lexus to be able to save one of those. But yeah, speaking of saves, the biggest save of them all is a good recovery drive, and I think one of those is what Foch in 19th place is doing right now. Because we saw that huge crash he had in Ascari, brought him down to P30 with a quite long repair time. And another spin that we actually caught on camera while we were watching the lead battle. And now he's made it back into the top 20, so almost back to his starting place, I think.
Pretty good going for the number 8 Lamborghini Huracan GT3. So at the moment, as Doricot's just done a splash and dash. He's pitted from P3. There we go. The Lexus now in the pits. So won't have that much fuel to put on. That now promotes Jan-Niklas Ebrich up into second position. And there looks to be Reiner Hesse that's just gone through, exiting the pits as well. So that was a short fuel stop for both drivers. Now the biggest question is, where has that brought back out Alexander Doricot? Because he was second position coming into the pits. And that now...
Oh, and there's too wide there.
That was definitely one BMW going around the outside of something else. There is Yannick Ruoff. So the gap between Yannick Ruoff and Jan-Niklas Ebrich, with 12 minutes and just over 20 seconds to go. Let's just see if we can have a look at that now. What the difference is between first and second. Okay, so Doricot now moves out of the top 6 positions. So it could be a German 1-2 this evening. Yannick Ruoff has plenty of time between himself and Jan-Niklas Ebrich. It's about 20 plus seconds. But between Ebrich and Waffel from Germany and Estonia respectively, Waffel was only just under 5.5 seconds behind in the number 1 Mercedes. So if Waffel starts closing that gap, Ebrich, if he's lucky, could still stay on the podium. And there is the number 299 Lexus. So Doricot now moves down to 7th position in the Lexus, the second highest placed Lexus in this field. Adam Plivac from Poland in the number 18 rounds out the top 11 drivers. But there is Yannick Ruoff. We now go back on board with on the driver cam. Out through the first Lesmo, into the second one.
He's pushing a little bit too hard now, I think.
Yeah, that's the thing that I'm sort of worried about here. Now onto lap number 43. And if he pushes too hard... Oh! That was really close there for Ruoff. You know, the amount of steering correction now, Nicholas, that makes me think that he probably feels that he's not comfortable enough. He just wants to put in a couple of quali laps and then cruise to the finish. But one wrong mistake and that could really throw it into the hands of everyone else behind.
Yeah, I think overall that is quite a thing that he has to fight against now. I think his tire pressure is probably not quite on point. If I'm correct, because he did have a quite short pit stop before, if we could see that gap again, because I think, if I'm correct, that he hasn't pitted yet. So it is quite difficult there.
So that effectively says to me, reading between the lines here, Nicholas, is that if Yannick Ruoff has not done a second pit stop, and he does a splash and dash, that's going to be between the likes of who was that straight lining Ascari? Was that Cassis I believe? I think there was.
No, I think that was Foch.
No,
actually, yes. Casasalu, sorry.
It was Cassis I saw the white rear end of that Lamborghini Huracan just go flying across, and I thought, well, Foch was very, very lucky indeed. But I think Ruoff will have absolutely rued his chances of getting the victory, because being about 22 or 25 seconds ahead of Jan-Niklas Ebrich, that puts him out of contention for the victory. And what that also brings in is Max Waffel. So if Max Waffel is within 5 seconds of Jan-Niklas Ebrich at the finish, the 5-second time penalty gets instigated, and Ebrich does not take the victory, and Waffel takes it. The strategy now is out of the window. 8 minutes and 40 seconds still to go here.
This is this is now the big question here. Quite honestly, I don't know how it will come out, because that is a quite big gap, even for the drive-through penalty that Sutiano had. I think he's an entire sector ahead at the moment, so Ruoff still has to pit. If he has strategized properly, then he should be at the point where he only has to just do a very quick 1 liter splash and dash, which basically takes almost less than a second. So, we'll see.
I don't think... I think it's between Ruoff and Ebrich. And Ebrich is running the 48.8s. And you know what? One of the key things that he's got here, he's got traffic in front of him. And what that's going to help him with is straight line speed. Because he's going to be able to have more of an opportunity to go full throttle. Because once you're behind somebody in the dirty air, the car is going to come a bit more alive. It's going to be a bit more responsive on the throttle. You're not going to have to need to push that hard in comparison with the person in front of you. And also, you're going to conserve your tyres. So, who's not to say that if Ruoff pits, Jan-Niklas Ebrich, as soon as he knows that's happened, he's going to be winding the wick up to volume number 11.
Yeah, I think for Ebrich, his train of thought will currently be, push as hard as you can, but don't over-push it. So he'll be very, very careful about how he does it, because look at this here. He's been just using the maximum amount of track that he can, even with the runoff. Oh, well, AstroTurf, not really runoff. But, it is still quite different to what we saw from Ruoff, who obviously, was fighting a lot more with the car, because you can see here as well, just in the middle of the corner, the steering inputs there a lot more calm.
Very much the case. 6.5 minutes still to go here at World Pro Racing for the 90 minutes of Monza, as we are now at nearly 10:30 on the server here at the fantastic 3.6 mile, 5.793 kilometer circuit. 11 turns in total. We're still sticking with Jan-Niklas Ebrich, who's now running in the low 1 minute 48.2s. So the German looking to make it consistent, as there's Alexander Doricott. Looks like the car in front sparked up, had a bit of a feast of sparks there, and I think that was Sheldon Scott Muscat, who was just ahead, and then there is Jan Heiler. So we've got a really ding-dong battle here for what is going to be 6th position. Yellow flags are retracted.
and 42 seconds to go, and he has to pit one more time, otherwise he will get disqualified at the end of the race.
Well, that's definitely the words of Daft Punk I heard there. One more time, Nicholas. That iconic song. If any of you have not heard it, well, it's definitely a classic belter. But yeah, that is quite interesting that you've got that confirmation that Ruoff still has one more pit stop to make. And that is going to be like music to the ears of Jan-Niklas Ebrich, you know, multi-time casual race winner on GT3 here on World Pro Racing. And if he gets that final victory of the season, that's going to put him into a really, really good boisterous and confident mood at the end of the season. And there is Max Waffel, still in third place. So it is Mercedes leading from Lexus, from Mercedes, and Waffel is coming under fire now with just over 3¼ minutes remaining here, Nicholas. Calvin Heutzel not too far behind in the number 79.
Yeah, that is definitely not something that you want to see in your rearview mirror, especially since Holtz has just shown through this entire race already how fast he can be. But that's cut out for Muscat, I think.
That was brilliantly done. Alexander Doricott just literally sent it from nowhere, but he's gone straight on at the Rettifilio chicane. He's got to give the position back. He absolutely nailed it. I think he just outbraked himself, but he's still got probably another couple of laps still to get the opportunity of getting himself up into 6th position. And that's been an absolutely brilliant effort from the number 19 from Great Britain through into De La Roggia. So we're into the last 3 minutes of the race and the last 3 minutes of our racing broadcasts here on World Pro Racing for 2020. Don't forget, join us for our end of year party tomorrow evening as sparks fly from the pack diffuser of Alexander Doricott's Lexus. Oh, Sheldon Muscat has a bit of a moment coming out of the second Lesmo. So join us at 20:30 Central European time tomorrow night here on World Pro Racing on Facebook, Twitch and YouTube for our end of year party. We'll be having a giveaway. Big thank yous to our partners at HyperX for helping us out with that. As more sparks fly from the back end of the M6 GT3 of GT Omega RPM Esports' very own Sheldon Scott Muscat. Alexander Doricott definitely in the tow there, going down the back straightaway, heading into Parabolica as Calvin Heutzel makes the move on Max Waffel down the straightaway into the Rettifilio chicane. And so the German now makes it. You're going to like this. At the moment, we have a German top 3.
Hey! Very proud moment. But it might change because I think Yannick Ruoff might try the Schumacher and Silverstone strategy to enlighten everyone here. Schumacher had to deliver a penalty in the last closing laps in a race in Silverstone once and did that on the very last lap because his pit box was right in front of the start-finish line. And I think Yannick Ruoff is going to try and do the same thing with his final pit stop as it looks right now, but that is not going to work because...
Here he comes, leader into the pits.
Oh, there we are.
Oh, 1 minute and 10 seconds still on the clock. Still to go.
Last lap.
Yeah, but who is... Okay, right, so now let's keep our eyes on Jan-Niklas Ebrich. He's coming through Parabolica. Where is Yannick Ruoff? Is he still in the pits? Oh, we're on tenterhooks now. He's still in the pits. He's going to refuel. Yannick Ruoff has gotten past him. He's gotten into the lead. Yeah, Jan-Niklas Ebrich is heading down towards the Rettifilio. He's gone past pit lane exit.
I forgot about that. Ruoff with his 5-second penalty, there was no other way out of this because in ACC, if you have a time penalty, it gets automatically delivered.
Ah, so he's had to serve that 5-second penalty on top of his pit stop. Oh my goodness me.
And now he's also right in the fangs. There he is, and he's getting right in the fangs in the last lap of the race.
Yannick, put the throttle down. Put the throttle down. Last lap of the year. And now it is going to be a 3-way scrap between 3 Mercedes for second position. As Jan-Niklas Ebrich has literally his Christmases, even though they might be a bit belated, have all come at once here this evening at Autodromo Nazionale di Monza. So Yannick Ruoff has to really really go for it. I would think that probably just to save a bit of time, he's not put any tyres on that car, as both his and Waffel's Mercedes spit sparks from the back diffuser. Timer has hit 0 on the clock. And there is Jan-Niklas Ebrich. After the Ascari chicane, he's just got Curva Parabolica to negotiate. Multi-time GT3 ACC casual race winner here on World Pro Racing. And now one final corner. It has been absolutely enthralling over the last 90 minutes. But out of the Curva Parabolica, herzlichen Glückwunsch, Jan-Niklas Ebrich from Germany. In the 299 Lexus, he takes the checkered flag and wins the last race of the year. Well done to Jan-Niklas Ebrich. But now we're going to find out who's going to take second. It's going to be a German one too, courtesy of Calvin Heitzel in the number 79 from Good Time Racing. It won't be a top 3 lockout on the podium, virtually speaking, for Germany, because Max Waffel from Estonia will take 3rd place. But Yannick Huoff, despite what happened, came fighting back and managed to secure 4th at the finish. 5th, it will be Mihai Suțianu from Romania. That is your top 5. But Jan-Niklas Ebrich from Germany, from LL Racing, the 299 Nicholas. He's done Germany proud this evening, hasn't he?
Yeah, definitely. Once again, fantastic form from him throughout the race. Hitting minor bumps along the way, but and even getting the 5-second penalty, but not letting that discourage him. And yeah, just doing an absolutely stellar job to end this year in style with a little slide there as well out of Lesmo too. But yeah, he was willing to pick up Ross' poker game and out-pokered the pokerer, so to say.
Well, he definitely kept his cards close to his chest and played that right hand at the right time. If anyone remembers Daniel Craig playing James Bond in Casino Royale. So what a great race from Jan-Niklas Ebrich, taking the victory ahead of Calvin Heutzel, Max Waffel rounding out the top 3, Yannick Huoff, Mihai Suțianu, Sheldon Scott Muscat. Great drive from Alexander Doricott to finish in 7th ahead of Gergely Kunsavo in the Jaguar. Jan Heiler and Luke Whitehead rounded out the top 10. What a fantastic race to close out the racing season here on World Pro Racing. And a big thank you to, firstly, all our competitors, all 36 or so that took part this evening. Well, 90 minutes at Monza. Absolutely textbook on tender hooks the whole time, Nicholas. Yeah, Jan-Niklas Ebrich going into the winter with a bag full of confidence going into 2021.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to end the year well, go race at Monza and just win it in an intensely tight competition. And quite honestly, yeah, no mistakes made from him, and just every foot put right, strategy played well, and I can't say anything other than congratulations.
Well, actually, let's speak to our race winner just now. Jan-Niklas, what a way to end the season. A victory after what was such... we didn't know what was going to happen going into turn 1 at Monza, but you came out all guns blazing in the Lexus, and I think you gave the Mercedes drivers a bit of humble pie to eat this evening.
Yes, it was definitely a hard race. I made some little mistakes, which cost me, I think, an easier race. But yeah, it was hard to fight against them because they were so fast on the straight, and to pass them then in the chicanes, it was so close.
And obviously, with the straight line speed, that did help with the way that the Lexus was handling behind the Mercedes. And so in many respects, it's going to be quite interesting. It was quite interesting how things sort of changed. You know, we had Yannick and yourself both hit with the 5-second time penalty. We saw that Calvin and Max were doing a great job in the Mercedes, but it was going to be rather interesting all the way through that race. You must be feeling absolutely happy now just to be able to get a bit of a breather ready for 2021.
Yes, it was so hard. I almost killed a BMW guy in the first stint, and that ruined my front tires. So I had a lot of understeer in the first stint, which was then harder to stay behind these guys because of the slipstream and the braking. Yeah, but looking forward to next year. Yeah, I hope I can race the next sprint series. Maybe I'm finishing up higher than that last one.
Well done, Jan Niklas. Congratulations on a fantastic victory. And we look forward to seeing you back with us in 2021 on World Pro Racing. Okay, Niklas, I think we'll get you to have a chat with our second place driver, Calvin Heutzel.
Kelvin, hello there. First of all, what a debut for you. Fantastic race from you. And very well done to finish in this position. How was your race overall for you?
Hello. It was very
Should
hard.
I translate now?
We've got Yannick with us, our fourth place finisher, who's actually going to, I've been informed, is going to translate for Calvin. So Yannick, take it away.
Ja, er hat einfach nur gefragt, wie dein Rennen war und hat dich beglückwünscht, weil es ja dein erstes Rennen jetzt in der WPR auch war und einfach ein bisschen erzählen, wie dein Rennen so gelaufen ist.
Okay, ja, war gut. Am Ende habe ich halt viel gepusht und ja.
Alles klar. He said it was obviously a great race. The end was pretty hard. He needed to push very hard at the end to catch Waffle, I guess. And yeah, but overall he's pretty happy. And yeah.
I can also just quickly ask the question in German and then translate it to make a step easier.
Alright.
In der Mitte war ja dann eine Menge Chaos auch mit Backmarker-Autos. Wie hattest du insgesamt jetzt die zusätzliche Herausforderung von überrundeten Autos so für dich im Rennen? Also war es eine große Herausforderung oder war es einfacher?
Ja, es war ziemlich einfach. Also ich hatte keine Probleme mit den Überrundeten und ja, lief eigentlich ziemlich alles glatt.
Alright, that's good to hear. So I basically just asked him very quickly if, of course, with a big field like this, if he had any issues with backmarkers or anything, but he had no backmarkers whatsoever. No problems with backmarkers whatsoever. And the race went quite well for him. So yeah, thank you very much, Kelvin. We hope to see a lot more from you because obviously very good driving from you today. And we look forward to seeing you race with us again.
Yeah, thank you too.
Okay, we'll now head to Max Waffle, our third place finisher. Max, so close, yet so far away. But a very good battle between yourself. We saw that Calvin was able to overtake you in the latter stages. How are you feeling after getting third this evening?
Third is about 10 places higher than I was expecting, but I'm still disappointed because I feel like I didn't do well on the strategy department.
I think one of the other things that we do have to remember that going into turn one, we saw the contact between Sutiano and Whitehead. That gave you an opportunity. I think you were leading at one point. But yeah, it was still going to be a race where we didn't know who was going to finish first. And as they say, to finish first you must finish, right?
This was definitely my best result of the season, so I'm just glad I made it to the end. Even if in the second half my tire pressures were way too low, so I had no chance to fight against Calvin, really.
I think that was mainly because of the cold conditions, because the track temperature was 32 degrees when we started the race, but obviously with the five times on the server, multiplier, that really changed everything. And I think we were hitting about 16, 17 degrees. So yeah, I can understand completely where you're coming from with the tire pressures.
We were prepared for it, but I planned to pit every half hour and take new tires. But after the first pit stop, I saw that everybody else was doing something else. So I just didn't take tires in the last stint. But the tires I took after the first 30 minutes, their pressures were for higher temperatures.
Okay, well, Max, thank you very much for racing with us tonight. I think we're going to go to Yannick for our final interview this evening. Yannick, I'm sorry to have to bring this up, mate, but we were gutted for you. Myself and Nicholas, we were absolutely gutted for you this evening. You were leading, and then with literally, what was it, 1 minute and 10 seconds to go, the 5-second time penalty got automatically pinged to you. You must be absolutely devastated, but still, to have a performance where you could have won the race if that 5-second penalty wasn't there, it could have been a rather different story.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm quite disappointed. I wanted it to win pretty hard, very badly. So, yeah. I think Erbrich and me could fight for the win till basically the last corner. So I'm quite disappointed to finish in 4th, not even 3rd or yeah. So looking forward to the next round or the next sprint cup, and yeah, hopefully I will get some good results there.
Okay, well, Yannick, thank you very much for all your efforts this evening and also through 2021, and we hope you have a good new year.
Well, thank you. You too, guys.
Thank you very much. Well, there's no highlights this evening. We're going to close off the stream now. A big thank you to everyone that has been involved behind the scenes here at World Pro Racing, the entire team, including myself, Nicholas. We can't forget the likes of Caitlin, Jake, Kieran, amongst others, that have helped us through this year. We've got to say a big thank you to George Muscat, Adrian Figalo, Nathan and Justin Mifsud, the main people behind World Pro Racing. We'd like to say a big thank you to all our partners. This stream has been powered by Melita, Thrustmaster, AMD, HyperX, Gaming Malta. Visit malta.com. A big thank you for all your support for those watching on Malta's TVM Sport channel, Esports TV and motorsport.tv. Don't forget, the end of year closing virtual party here on World Pro Racing will be at 20:30 Central European Time tomorrow night with a fantastic giveaway courtesy of our good partners at HyperX. And we wish you all a very happy new year, and may 2021 be prosperous for us all. Good night and stay safe.
This stream is powered by Melita, using Melita Gigapower Internet. World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.
For only €5 a month, experience every high-definition moment on your TV, tablet, phone or PC. Great teams, great moments, and so much more. TSN from Melita is your ticket to stay in the game. Visit melita.com/sports.
Senna was a god. No one could even dream to follow him.
I'm from a very humble background.
The role of women at that time were really difficult.
This is so dangerous. You are risking not only your life, but also my life.
Wish your Wi-Fi network would just work in any room? Our new Stellar Wi-Fi is AI assisted to give you the smoothest, fastest possible Wi-Fi throughout your home. Stellar Wi-Fi, assisted by AI, exclusive to Melita. Find out more in-store or online.
World Pro Racing, where sim racing becomes real.